Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. It is a new era. It is the SP3 era of the ROH TNA post show. We thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to get into everything that happened on tonight's episode of ROH and more. But before we do, just a couple of reminders, a little bit of housekeeping. The TNA post show will be on the back end of this. You're going to want to tune into that because they had the Impact 20th anniversary show tonight. So hopefully some exciting developments happening in that world. A couple of other housekeeping things. Please leave a thumbs up on this video. It helps people find us in the algorithm with like the little show that could, I always say. We've got the two like paywalled, not readily accessible post show here. We're chugging away. We're chugging away. So please leave a thumbs up. It's very helpful. You can also leave us a super chat. No humper chats for tonight. But more importantly, subscribe to FightfulSelect.com because, whoo boy, a lot of contract news going up there over the past couple of weeks. Becky Lynch, Natalya, a Dijak update you just got today. Personal favorite of mine, Shane Haste, the former Slapjack. His contract coming up in New Japan. To which I say they've only had about 9 million chances to get TMDK right as a TMDK stan account. Breaks my heart if they lose him. They should be trying to re-sign that guy, but my goodness, so much more. Ricochet's contract is up. Tons and tons of contract news, as well as your regular news, too. MJF's return. So much happening in the world of wrestling, but subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Join the Discord as well. If you want to avoid weirdos on Twitter, you can head over to the Discord. But my goodness, I am so excited to finally have a permanent co-host moving forward. I'm very excited not only for that, but who it is to be joined here by SP3. You know him from FMC. You know him from Fightful Overbook. You know him as the substitute teacher here. Finally, he's gonna get tenure by the end of this show. Okay, baby. He is on his way. But SP3, so excited to have you on, not only tonight, but moving forward. You bring so much energy and knowledge. It was like a no-brainer when I was tasked with replacing Reg, who I wanted it to be. Thank you so much for coming on here tonight and moving forward. What did you think of tonight's episode? And welcome aboard officially.
I am honored to be here. TV time with the new media tree is here. The new media forbidden
immediately
door,
fired. No, we're done. Nope. No Jericho learning tree references. SP3 is out of here.
I am the olive branch. I'm the non-angry black guy in the learning tree. So I am here to bring some positivity to the Ring of Honor. But yeah, I thought the episode today was actually a little different in the last couple of weeks that I've been watching. It actually had some stories being told. It was very strange for me. It had very much become ROH AEW Dark. Like I didn't know what the difference was between Ring of Honor and AEW Dark for a couple of weeks, but we actually had some story development, whether it be in the women's division with the current feud with MIT and Aminata and Velvet, whether it be the ROH TV title with a good matchup and a follow-up of the next title defense being announced on the same show. What show am I watching? It was like they knew that I was reviewing this show for the first time. Officially, no longer Rod Belding. Now I'm Richard Belding. And hey, what is going on here?
Well, flight attendants everywhere are relieved that you are now Rod Belding. Okay, or not. Wait, who is the shitty brother?
Yeah. Rod was the shitty brother.
Richard.
And Richard. I'm now Richard Belding. I got an official spot. I'm not the principal, but I'm teacher Belding.
The better belting, as they say on that show. Thank goodness, because I don't want your whitewater rafting trips. I want logical storytelling here at ROH. Man, I am glad you have some enthusiasm because I was still bummed about a lot of things on this episode. But we're going to get into all of it. SP3 also bringing more lists. The Jericho tropes continue, but we're going to have a big reveal because I get to choose between lists. Last time it revealed that SP3 was a clam digger, so hopefully this one goes better. But we get a very fun opening promo. I'm going to loop that back to the match tonight. Extremely silly opening to the show. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to dive in with our first match and talk about that in a second. We got Queen Aminata versus Maserati, who has a really, really cool look to her. I was not very familiar with Maserati, so very cool to find out here about her. And I liked that even though this was a glorified squash as we would expect it to be, came out swinging. Like, I appreciated that. Kind of caught Queen Aminata off guard a little bit. And then once she recalibrated, it was all Queen Aminata from there. Noticeable height advantage here. You see a lot of suplexes. You see some good roll-ups. But this kind of really turns in Aminata's favor when we have these brutal kicks that get Maserati hung up in the ropes. Maybe knocked out. We're not quite sure there. But we get an air raid for the win. Kind of what you would come to expect, but I did like that there was a little bit of momentum for Maserati early, that she at least got the jump in here. Queen Aminata's presence and facial expressions are such a key part of what she does that even though there wasn't really a doubt who was going to win, that went a long way for me, honestly. Like, I really appreciated that. What did you think of our opening contest in this?
Thought it was a good start to the show. Anytime we start the show with Queen Aminata, it gets a thumbs up from me. She's one of my favorites and one of the people that I think that they should be building the show around. So I would have placed another match on the card in this opening spot, and we'll get into that when we get to that matchup. But this was a solid work with Aminata picking up the win. She's showing more dominance in the ring, which is, it feels like they are really kind of prepping her up, building her up, so she is the person that gets the shot at Athena coming up at Death Before Dishonor, which is next month. So they got to get to building right now. So I like the fact that Aminata got another dominant win after, getting in Athena's face a couple of weeks back.
You wouldn't know it, but we do have a pay-per-view coming up in just about a month here. Queen Aminata looking great. The overarching story, of course, being her and Red Velvet. We're going to get to that in a little bit because we got some more going on, but perfectly suitable opening contest. We didn't have Queen Aminata on the show for a little bit. Seemed like there might have been some personal stuff going on just based on like what was going on her Twitter account and stuff. Yeah. So just wishing all the best to her if that was the case, if she's dealing with some things, but nice to have her back in action here. She's a very bright spot. She was kind of reintroduced under the AEW umbrella in such a big way, and then that momentum kind of slowed down. So very excited to have her back and kind of what we would come to expect from an opening contest here. But we move on to another women's match. Marina Shafir and Amira. Amira is someone that I more recently became familiar with in a fantastic Prestige show of recent. I am blown away by what this young lady could do. She wasn't there to showcase it tonight, but one thing that I love about Ring of Honor that we used to get from AEW Dark was discovery of new talent or spotlights for talent that might not normally get it. She's very young and she's very good. She is someone that I think they could come calling for sooner rather than later. I've been craving for Serena Deeb at her dojo to have some students, because that's a pretty sad dojo when you don't have any students. I've been saying Layla Hirsch would be fun. A returning Tay Conti or Tay Mello back to that, I think could be really fun with her background. Amira is like an indie sleeper pick that I think could fit in really, really well if they ever did build out a dojo. But Marina Shafir being on the other end of this, we've seen some really cool vignettes for her going back into this. She wins with the crossface. You get Amira passing out, who was there to mostly get her butt kicked, but I encourage you to go check out Amira. Really, really impressive stuff from her that I've gotten to see since tapping into her. But I feel a little split on this. I really liked the vignettes that we were getting at Marina Shafir. It doesn't feel like they've enhanced her presentation in any way. I don't know if ROH allows that wiggle room for it, but we run into the same problem of a lot of growth in ring, I feel like, from Marina Shafir. She's getting way more comfortable in there, but presentation-wise, ROH doesn't really let anything build out for you, and I just feel like there's nothing... I got reinvested after the vignettes, and now there's kind of again back to nothing really grabbing me. Also, like every women's match on this card being a foregone conclusion did not help. Like you knew what was going to happen. You knew this was going to be a squash. So kind of zapped there, but very happy Marina Shafir is back. Very glad that she looks like she's grown a lot in ring because she brings something very unique to the picture SP3.
100%. Marina Shafir, with all her experience in MMA, she's just a different type of worker than everybody else on the roster. So, yeah, I was also enjoying kind of the vignettes that build her back up. I wish they would have done, more with that in the backstage interview that she had last week of what is the problem? Am I the problem? And stuff like that. I like that stuff. I like her with the glasses as well. That was a different type of look that she had.
I almost didn't recognize her. I was like, Librarian Shafir, what is happening? I liked it, but it caught me off guard because we always see her like no shoes and totally badass. I hadn't seen street clothes Marina Shafir before. It was cool.
I literally had to rewind it back, be like, that was Marina Shafir? Because she said problem. So I was like, oh yeah, that was Marina Shafir with glasses. Okay, that's strange, but it worked for me. But yeah, this matchup was mostly just a squash to kind of just reestablish her dominance in the ring. It was an interesting finish because it just looked like she was hugging her. It was hugging her head. I know that was like an inside joke. She was choking her, but it really just looked like she was comforting her. Like she was putting her in a bosom, like she was Mariah May, and it was Mina Shirakawa and Timeless Tony Storm again. That's like the type of submissions they do at night. But I dug it. It was interesting, and I like the fact that with Marina Shafir, with her squash matches, she always tries to kind of win in different ways with different submission moves. So that is also cool to kind of, because when she actually gets into an actual matchup, whether it be for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship or Ring of Honor Women's TV title, or stand back, maybe a non-title women's feud. Oh, maybe you can do something like that with Marina Shafir, God willing. But yeah, I think that then you have multiple ways where you can get near falls or near submissions with her, with the different ways that she's been winning all these matches. So I think in the long run, maybe it can mean something, but for now, it's just merely kind of setting her up with I think we're going to get more vignettes following this and more backstage interviews, which I think we need more of than actual squash matches.
Agreed. I personally like the pared down format that we're getting this closer to the hour mark, because it seems like when it was 2 hours, we were getting an hour of fluff, and feels like we even have enough fluff even in this 1 hour. So if they utilize some of that extra time for more backstages and more development, I think that could be something that's really good. But Ricardo saying best bangs in SP3, ROH was mid tonight. Kind of was, but you know what? SP3's got some new energy in here, and I like it. I like it a lot. But guys, leave a thumbs up on this video. There's a lot more of you watching now than when we started the show, so always appreciate that. And I'll also just take a moment to acknowledge it's Pride Month. Wrestling's for everyone. Fightful's for everyone. We love all of you, except for people who are assholes about that exact sentiment. Those are the only people that we don't like around here. We will ban you. We will kick you out. We will troll you online super hard back. But we love everybody here. This is a safe space. We try to keep it as safe as possible for everybody to be able to come in and talk about wrestling and whine about what was bad and talk about what was great and celebrate each other and pro wrestling. Happy wrestling, as Ian Riccaboni says, right? So we appreciate that, and we appreciate your support as well. So let's keep plugging away.
I just wanted to say, Shame Monster in the chat says that finishing move by Marina Shafir is called Mother's Milk. That owns. That owns. That might be one of the best finishing move names out there today.
She needs to get hot-shotted to, I think, that title picture that you were talking about with Tony and Mina and Mariah, because it just feels like it belongs there. But I don't know. Breast snuggles are real. Honor is real. We love it all. We love it all here. But I agree with you with Marina too. I personally, my proclivities at this point. You know that I love ZSJ and Daniel said, and I love tactical wrestling. And part of what I love about it is and it applies here with the more MMA based things too, I find, is when you have so many different ways to beat someone, it helps the match feel more suspenseful because it feels like it can end at any time rather than they did their finisher, so now it's time to go home. When you have like 5 of them, it just means that there's more spots of tension in the match, and I personally just find that so much more exciting.
Absolutely.
So let's move along to what was the main event in the 3 slot. I have no idea what the hell this was doing here. It feels like extremely lazy editing on their part because what was in the main event slot did not need to be in the main event slot. But to open the show, we have this very silly and fun continuation of the John TV storyline and Dalton Castle. You got Lexi Nair interviewing Dalton, and if you remember the way the story was building out when Dalton was so unhinged, Lexi was such a huge part of that, and I love that she continues to be, but there was a lot of emotional growth on ROH tonight, and this was one of the angles where we had some emotional processing of things. Dalton Castle says he's had his therapist that was telling him to get these feelings out, and he apologizes for putting Lexi through his feud with John TV, as he calls him. And then suddenly, if you wouldn't know it, Jonathan TV arrives and demands his sunglasses back. And Dalton Castle says that he never took those sunglasses. They say the word qualms about 900 times in this. I was howling qualms.
Okay.
I was in stitches. And then they talk about who's going to have the bigger next move. And they talk about like how big that move is, how many inches big it might be. And they both got huge moves on the horizon. So I was howling at every part of this beginning thing, calling Johnny TV John TV as like I'm more mature now. I've emotionally grown. I was cracking up. Him apologizing to Lexi, like, hey, sorry I threw cheese at you at one point. Like, so good. And then John reappears. And I just found this to be so refreshing. I missed this story and I missed their dynamic so much because it was one of the few really consistent and constantly delivering things in every aspect that we've had on ROH. It leads into this match a little bit, but my goodness, this was so much fun. What a hoot. What did you think of the opening to the show? And then we'll talk about the match in a minute.
Yeah, this promo was so much fun, and really after this promo, I was like, can we get a John TV and Dalton Castle tag team? We did the feud.
Ooh, okay.
We need them to be a tag team and have the largest move by square feet and inches. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be a huge team. Them with Taya and Lexi Nair in their corner. Oh my God, the magic that they can bring to the tag team division instead of the Ring of Honor tag team champions being goofs on AEW TV. They need to come on down to ROH TV and lose to Team TV. Dalton Castle and John TV. That's the tag team we all need, but they just have great chemistry with one another, and you could tell really outside of the ring they are friends with one another because they just play off of each other so well. Taya's there making little jokes on the side and adding to the whole act. So this was real fun to kind of build up what was going on in the match that should have been either the main event or the opener to the show. That was the one I was talking about. Dalton Castle challenging Kyle Fletcher has been built up to for a while. The whole feud with John TV that culminated at Supercard of Honor was all about him getting a shot at the Ring of Honor Television Championship. So it randomly gets announced last week, like out of nowhere. They threw on a video package on last week's show. I was like, what is this? What is this? Actual build up for something next week? What do we do? What are we doing? I'm not used to this on Ring of Honor television, but it happened and they showed that. I'm like, okay, I kind of would have thought you would have built up to that on like the next pay-per-view, because Dalton has been going after this TV title since before Final Battle. He was in the survival of the fittest at Final Battle to determine the new Ring of Honor TV champion when Kyle Fletcher won. So I thought they would build up to it a little bit more, but it randomly gets announced, and then they do this promo here, which was nice, nice reminder that the match was coming up. But I thought when they did the promo early in the show that meant it was going to be in the main event, and then no, third match in after 2 squatches. It's like either open the show or close the show with this. I don't understand.
Especially when it's your only title match here. We had no Athena tonight. There was one proving ground match that was given to an indie talent. I even thought to get to this point, SP3, we didn't have a proving ground match for Dalton Castle, but everybody, London Lightning's out here getting proving ground matches, random indie guys. But like to even get just for another week of this, you would think you would have Dalton Castle be the guy to actually last 10 minutes with Kyle Fletcher. So I was kind of surprised by that, but Will chiming in here saying, can we give the 10 to SP3 so he can bring back the feeling to ROH? Because my daughter loves this version of ROH and I feel like I failed as a father. Well, I'll say this. Anytime anybody likes wrestling, it makes me very happy. So I'm glad that your daughter is enjoying the product. There's so much still to like about this version of ROH. It's just that the ceiling and the potential are so much higher that it's being booked to, I feel like. So that's where my frustration comes in, is I feel like the talent deserves a better product than they're being given. But there's a lot to like. There's a lot to like. But let's get into this match. Thank you so much for that chat, Will. We appreciate it. Dalton comes out. He has several boys now, which is fun. We kind of saw that at the pay-per-view, that there were all these boys, including Paul Walter Hauser, that came down with him. All these boys of different shapes and sizes made me very, very happy. There was one boy in particular who was very into it in the front. But what I loved about this is this match not only was great, but it feels so different than a lot of the Dalton Castle matches that we've seen. And man, I tweeted this and I was thinking about it. On the Swerve City podcast, he was sitting down with Will Ospreay, and Swerve said basically to the effect of Will Ospreay is pushing wrestling in such a direction that there are people that don't actually know what to do with it. Like, not people that are being negative in bad faith, and not people that are praising it necessarily, but people who like can't actually process what Will Ospreay is doing with this new style of wrestling that has this underneath aspect of it that feels like there's so many fundamentals in it. And to me, I don't know where that goes, but Kyle Fletcher is the follow-up. Like, every single time I see Kyle Fletcher out there, it's the same thing of he's doing all of this really new and innovative stuff, but all of these compulsory things of match pacing, logic, selling, like it's not lost with this kind of hybrid blend of old school and new school. And I just love it. And we got such a great match. It was the main event. I don't know why it was on third. But you get these waist locks to start up, which I love because that's one of Dalton's more like amateur background kind of things. It immediately makes you feel like the match is serious, even though Dalton's not always serious. But then you have Kyle Fletcher attacking the shoulder very early on in this, which I love because that to me was such a gift to Dalton Castle in this match, because the kickouts were so much more dramatic with this. There were so many really, really good things that came out of that shoulder being attacked. But you get a bangerang here. Kyle Fletcher finds the rope. A second bangerang. Fletcher gets out of it and has Dalton hung up in the ropes for a huge running knee. You get a brain buster that all these tricks that Kyle Fletcher normally puts people away with. A nasty half Nelson suplex that Dalton just keeps fighting back from. Some really great babyface stuff of always fighting back in here. Ultimately, we get the pile driver. Kyle Fletcher wins. No idea why they didn't edit this to be not third in the night, but really fantastic stuff. Really fantastic stuff. And it kind of felt to me like for a long time, Ethan Page was the only guy that was taking pride in ROH in a lot of ways. Kyle Fletcher has now like stepped into that role so full with this title run. only wonderful things to say about all of this. Loved the opening promo. Loved this match. We'll talk about the Big Shotty Lee stuff in a little bit, but what did you think of this match? Because I was just in love with how different it felt from everything else that both of these guys have done before.
By far the best match on the show. And like you said, there was a lot of great like technical wrestling and a lot of great psychology involved, whether it be, Kyle working over the shoulder and the nice half and half suplex on the floor and how he went right after the neck when he got back into the ring. Like he was just on the money here. And I thought Dalton made a good foe for him after, weeks upon weeks of Kyle Fletcher kind of putting these local talents away, improving round matches. It was nice to see him with an actual test in Dalton Castle, and even got a little bit of color,
Yes.
brother, with the blood on his forehead there. So I totally agree with what you said to end off, is that Kyle Fletcher feels like the guy that is representing Ring of Honor right now, and to the point that midway through this matchup, you forget the fact that he is not only facing a former Ring of Honor TV champion, he's facing a former Ring of Honor world champion in Dalton Castle, and this victory here made me feel like, man, you got Ring of Honor world champion Mark Briscoe finally returning. God bless him, having another child, like his 800 that he's got over there in the Briscoe compound. But it feels like they are positioning Kyle Fletcher to kind of be this TV champion on the level of Jay Lethal from back in 2015, when they built him up as like not only the best Ring of Honor TV champion, but the best champion in the company, where it feels like they were kind of building Kyle Fletcher to be that same thing, and maybe possibly build him up to the point that at Final Battle, I feel like there's no one else better than to do a title versus title matchup between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe at that point, if Mark Briscoe is still the champion. So I think that Kyle Fletcher, they're on the right path with him. This is the spot that he needs to have. He needs to be the face of Ring of Honor. Stop putting him on AEW because the Don Callis family needs to have someone to job out to in a tag team matchup. I need him on Ring of Honor to be the face of Ring of Honor, because they need guys like that. I thought Brian Keefe would be that guy, but he has a role over on AEW TV. I thought that, Mark Briscoe would be that, but he's so popular that I understand why they put him on AEW TV. Athena is that for the women's division. You need that for the men's division, because I kind of thought throughout this whole episode while I'm watching, I was like, who is the main event scene in Ring of Honor? I was like, you got Johnny TV here, who is a big enough star, but they don't position him in that spot, and they send him to Collision to job out to Claudio Castagnoli and stuff. You don't have the Claudios anymore. You don't have the Greshams anymore. So you need guys that can be the main event spot, and Kyle Fletcher is one of them.
Like me. Listen, I know I'm a little early, but I'm going to see if I can get an exclusive right here.
Hey.
Hold on. Let's see if this happens. You've heard it here first, guys. Shaza, a coward after her highly publicized loss on television, wouldn't even answer the phone, would not confront the fact that she lost on TV tonight.
Ouch.
Listen, when I lose, I'm a man. I accept it. I speak on it publicly. Shaza is a coward, and I hate that. She had become a good friend of mine.
Sure.
But,
do you think it has to do with her recent manager? Because her recent manager rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. I saw that guy at the Monster Factory. Like, no, like he was in white pants. I can't remember his name, but
he was taller. He was much taller.
He was definitely really, 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 really tall.
Oh no, maybe we'll find out this Friday at Black Label Pro.
Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Disappointing to hear that Shaza McKenzie is a coward, but always I was gonna say I always appreciate a Shawn run-in, but that's just not true. Like, he disrupts the show. 90% of the time he disrupts the show when I'm like trying to get to the main event and finish up the post-show. He'll just start coming in and talking about the cha-cha slide or obscure Bengals references or whatever. Man.
Hey,
But
one hop this time. Right
it
foot,
was
left stomp.
it was very that's how I found out DJ Casper died, was a Shawn run-in, which was just
Hands
sad.
on your knees. Hands on your knees. How low can you go? Can you do on the floor?
Look, I'll dance to it at a wedding, but I'm like,
I used to run. I used to run onto the dance floor whenever I heard that started. Whenever I heard the first word, it's like, oh, cha-cha slide time. But
you would bring it to the top, like you were never gonna stop.
Due to Charlie Brown, and everybody confused, like, what's that?
Oh my gosh, I knew the Peanuts stuff was my shit when I was little. So I knew every the Schroeder one, this one. I knew every Charlie Brown that you could possibly do. For sure.
I love it. But to disrupt things, I am gonna disrupt things because I am giving Kate a choice. Because life is all about choices in life.
It is.
And I promise the people watching of the Fightful main channel, that on my debut edition, you would get one of SP3's list.
Hell yeah.
And I have a list. So the last time I was here, I gave you the top 10 best ROH champions of all time, regardless of what title, best ROH champions of all time. This time, because a certain great commentator, great former Ring of Honor world champion, got a little upset with me with my choice of number one.
Clam digger, SP3.
Hey. Just because I know how to use a shovel doesn't mean I'm a clam digger. But since he got a little upset with me, I have two Nigel McGuinness themed ROH list for Kate to choose from. One will be read throughout the rest of this episode, and the other will be read next week. So you got I'm like Ring of Honor right now. I'm building to the next week. I'm giving you one match to look forward to next week. So so we have the top 5 best Nigel McGuinness Ring of Honor matches, and we have the top 5 best Nigel McGuinness rivals in Ring of Honor.
Ooh.
So it's your choice,
Kate. Rivals. Let's do rivals. That's a fun list.
I did. I even went through some research because they finished this at a tight hour this week, so it gave me time to watch some other stuff. And I went to the Ring of Honor YouTube channel and actually watched the classic Nigel McGuinness matchup for the matches list. So you got something to look forward to next week. You'll get the top 5 best Nigel McGuinness Ring of Honor matches. But this week we're going Nigel McGuinness best feuds, best rivals in Ring of Honor. So I'll start off with number 5 here, and I just kept it simple. His real first big rival in Ring of Honor when he was pure champion, it is none other than Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana and Nigel McGuinness. When Nigel was the pure champion, it was Colt Cabana was his main rival, trying to take that title off of him. He never was able to get that big win, but I felt like that rivalry was like the first one that got my attention of Nigel McGuinness in his early stages in Ring of Honor. He stood out because he was like the soccer hooligan. He was like straight out the 90s, and it was in the 2000s. So he always stood out in that way. But once he wins the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, that's when the rise of Nigel McGuinness really starts in Ring of Honor. And it was Colt Cabana with just his difference of a character with the comedy and, part Dusty Rhodes meets Doink the Clown in certain points that Colt Cabana was. It just made such a juxtaposition to Nigel McGuinness that he is number 5 on the top 5 best rivals of Nigel McGuinness in Ring of Honor.
I love that. And to your point with like the comedic aspect with Colt Cabana, I feel like his style of comedy in ring can kind of play in the British Bulldog vein, or like I feel like it fits in with that English sense of humor a little bit. So I feel like there were some really special moments that even I can recall of just some really good and on the same page stuff with those comedic moments that didn't feel so like goofy, but it felt more clever and witty with a lot of what they were able to bring in ring. So I love that, and I love this list. I'm so excited. Good stuff there. We're gonna keep those going, and guys, keep those super chats coming in. Leave a thumbs up on this video. So much to talk about with Ring of Honor. We just found out that Shaza McKenzie is a coward. TNA on the back end of this as well. So stick around for that, as well as SP3's list. But we've got the Infantry defeating Nick Comoroto and Jacoby Watts. And I am a little split on what we have going on with this. As usual, commentary is amazing, but some good things for Comoroto coming out of this. I feel like you have him looking around to Watts for approval after everything he does, which I think is good character work for him. You get some double team stuff, which lead to Watts kicking Bravo through the ropes, because the story continues here that Nick Comoroto is in a tag team, but on his own with Watts. The Infantry get him with a couple of super kicks off the apron, which is nice. And then Comoroto just kind of gets taken apart, and a big splash from Dean puts him away. Now, if we get a whole Jacoby Watts congregation, I feel like this could really have some potential. But some issues that I have with it right now are, one, I feel like this match was agented in reverse, because Comoroto and Watts are the heels, but it felt like Comoroto was the one that had to have the comeback to make this angle work, which feels wrong. Like, he should not be the guy fighting back. The huge dude who is the heel and delivering double team maneuvers is not the guy who should have the comeback in these matches. So it just felt like it was produced in reverse. I did not like the production of this match. And with that, it feels like for angles like this to work, you have to have a longer burn than we're getting. What I mean by that was they put Watts and Comoroto on screen together very quickly, and they were just like, this is their relationship right away. And instead of letting us see the trust get built out between Comoroto and Watts so that they were on the same page before we had these seeds of dissension, I feel like it just is happening too quick, because it feels like one is a face and one is a heel, and that just doesn't work because there was nothing to lead to this point. I don't know why when Comoroto is just taking losses, he has so much faith in Jacoby Watts. Like, there's not enough of a buy-in between the relationship between the two of them that allows for the stories to play out, because it just feels like this was so fast-tracked. So I think very quickly they need to either adopt a third guy, or they've got to build in some way for Comoroto to have trust in him, because right now it just looks like he's an idiot. He's just trusting this guy who keeps putting him in situations to lose and fight tag matches by himself. So I think there's a lot of potential with the act, and I think this is probably the best thing that we've seen for Comoroto, but I just feel like they cut to the chase too quickly between the two of them, and it puts Comoroto in a tough spot from a psychology standpoint in ring. But I like that we're getting to see Comoroto's personality shine through. I'm now understanding more who Jacoby Watts is a little bit, but we just need some more clarity, I think, about why Comoroto would buy into this and where Jacoby Watts is kind of going with this all. But I love the Infantry. Very glad to see them in action here. Why the hell is Trish Adora not having a bunch of reps? I don't know. But I love Dean and Bravo. So happy to see them in action here and getting wins. Wish these wins meant something as far as contendership, but I'll take it. What did you think? I threw a lot at you there, but what were your thoughts on this match and where this is going?
I'm just very much confused on all of this. I'll be honest. I'm like, Nick Comoroto is a former AEW Dynamite main eventer folks. Whether you remember it or not, he main evented, I think it was in a bull rope matchup against
It was
Dustin
a bull
Rhodes.
rope matchup.
I will never forget the fact that Nick Comoroto has main evented an episode of Dynamite, but he looks like a million bucks. And I think that, you know, the whole shave look, he looks good with that. And he's been looking impressive in these tag team efforts. But like you said, he looks like a dummy at the end of most of these because he's dependent on Jacoby Watts, who doesn't seem capable of even getting into the ring. So he's able to do, the skin the cat and showing his
Crazy,
athleticism.
a guy that size can skin the cat.
Absolutely. He's showing his athleticism, showing that he has more to him than just a good body and a good look. He's a lot more than that. And I just want more for Nick Comoroto. So I'm hoping that we get to the next stage of this story, whatever it is. I would say get to it as soon as possible, please. I would very much appreciate that, if you will.
I
but
agree. And
infantry getting the win, that's always good.
We do love that. We do love the infantry picking up a W. I think they have been at a tug of war with Comoroto, that he has the look, like you were saying, of like kind of a stereotypical big guy, but it also seems like he has a big personality that they're trying to tap into. So I think this is their way of fusing it. But I understand you wanting to move on to the next thing in this. I would like to move on to the next thing that is on your list of Nigel McGuinness rivals. Hit me with number 4.
All right, so this was an interesting one because I have it written down. I have the rivals written down, and I'm just gonna place them where I think they should be placed out of these middle 3, because I think it's pretty obvious who number 1's gonna be. Sorry, he's probably gonna be number 1 again. Sorry, Nigel. But number 4, I'm gonna go with Samoa Joe. Someone else that Nigel had a rivalry with over the Pure Championship, but it went beyond that. He even got to face, Joe on his final run, and I got to be at one of those shows in New York when Joe went one-on-one with Morishima, and I got the DVD for his match in Liverpool with Nigel McGuinness, and it was a hell of a match, a hell of a way to kind of end off the whole Samoa Joe final run in Ring of Honor before he kind of did his permanent stay in TNA following that. But they always had really strong chemistry with one another, and the fact that Nigel beat him to become the Pure Champion, and just seeing Nigel hit the Tower of London on Big Ass Joe was just fascinating to me. In the early 2000s, because not a lot of people could hit those type of moves on Joe, because Joe was such a dominant force in Ring of Honor. And whether it be his ROH World Championship run or Pure title run, Joe was kind of this insurmountable champion. So to see Nigel, through kind of devious manners, get the victory over him. And I always liked how he got under Joe's skin and used his technical ability and his shenanigans to get the wins over Joe. And then in the end, Joe picking up a win against him. I always liked the back and forth between them, and always liked the rivalry there. So number 4, Samoa Joe.
Love that choice. And it was also in that feud that I feel like I realized how much bigger Nigel wrestled than he was. Because there's something really special with Nigel, of him being technical. This is what I love about Josh Woods, and I miss him so much on television, but like, could put you in any submission he wanted, also would beat the hell out of you. Like, and we got a lot of that. And I loved that. And to your point about him winning with maybe nefarious means in some ways, but like always it was never like cheap. It was always smart. And I loved that, because especially early on in my fandom, because I came in through a lot of people, I came in the WWE door. When you start to see like the technical side of things, and he's this badass, and he's just so damn clever a lot of times, really started to open my eyes up to what wrestling could be as far as like a smarter art form. And I'll always have a really special place in my heart for Nigel because of that. And a lot of that was kind of on display in that Samoa Joe feud. So love your number 4 pick there so very much. And I like this little backstage we got, because to your point, we're actually setting things up, which is refreshing. with this backstage between Lee Johnson, who's cutting a promo and calling out Kyle Fletcher, who is walking by him confusingly with the suitcase but no shirt on. I don't know if he's going to some sort of topless airport.
Hey, he was in Vegas. He was in Vegas.
You know what? That's good enough for me, SP3. That's perfect. He was in Vegas. Shit gets weird, okay? Shit gets weird, but essentially the end of this is Fletcher saying he already beat him twice, get to the back of the line, and Lee Johnson saying that he thinks he can beat him twice in the same night, challenging him to a 2 out of 3 falls match, and Kyle Fletcher accepts, to which I say, awesome, because it was very, very good when we saw it previously, but at the same time, obviously, because who the hell else is being built up in the men's single division of Ring of Honor? No idea who is supposed to feel like a viable threat in the men's singles division of ROH. Like, it just doesn't exist outside of Lee Johnson. He's the only person picking up wins. He's the only person being given additional promo time. Dalton Castle just lost and doesn't feel like he's necessarily on that track. I have no idea who the hell is going to be facing Mark Briscoe in a couple of weeks. Like, who else is it gonna be? Like, I think they're running this back because there's nobody else that's made to feel important. And at the pay-per-view for the world title, they're just gonna shoot someone from the main roster of AEW down and insert them, and they're gonna have a great match, and everyone's gonna say, oh my god, Ring of Honor is great. Like, we run into this pattern over and over again, and it's maddening, but they showed out. And one thing that's really great about Kyle Fletcher is he gives you a different chapter of the story every time. And so I don't feel like it's going to feel like a retread, and not just because of the stipulation, but because Kyle Fletcher excels at bringing that out of people, right? I think he's very, very good and proven that time and time again that there is not a match that feels like a rerun in this guy's catalog at all. So young Lee Johnson getting to work with young, but way too good at this Kyle Fletcher, I think is a great call. But also by default, who the hell else is it gonna be?
Also good point. Also good point, because they don't have much going on. But I like the fact that, Lee has had some, wins on ROH TV, whether it be the 3-way against Aaron Solo and I think it was Action Andretti a couple of weeks back or last week, and then they win against Aaron Solo when they were in Jacksonville. So he's been picking up wins. But I agree with Kyle Fletcher's first sentiment of what makes you think that you deserve another shot. He should have told him, stay at the back of the line. It was like he literally says, stay at the back of the line, and all Lee says, oh, I can beat you twice in one night. Let's do a 2 out of 3 falls match, and that's all it took to convince Kyle Fletcher to say, okay, you can come to the front of the line, because there's no one else in the line.
No line.
He's like waiting in the line. It's like waiting at the DMV, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta wait your turn," and you're like, "Ain't nobody here." Ain't nobody
it's like
here.
when you're at the bank and they have the ropes out, but no one's in line, and you just have to like go through.
You have to go around.
Like, so embarrassing.
And you have to wait.
Annoying.
And they just clocked into their job, and they're like, "Wait, let me count all the money before I start my job." Like, I was just like, damn, I have to wait in line still. It's hilarious to me. But I think the match they will tear it up again. I felt like their matchup at Supercard of Honor was Lee Johnson's best matchup to date.
Easily.
So I think that they're going to have another great match, especially with the 2 out of 3 fall stipulation. And once again, Kyle Fletcher just looks like a star. He looks like he's better than everyone else on Ring of Honor television. But I did, as you were talking, realize who they're going to get to come from AEW to first Mark Briscoe at Death Before Dishonor. Kate, what was supposed to be the Death Before Dishonor main event last year? Do you remember?
Oh, God.
It's going to be that. Claudio Castagnoli is coming back to Ring of Honor to face Mark Briscoe, because that was the main event scheduled before Mark was injured last year at Death Before Dishonor. And we all know the one thing Tony Khan loves to do is stuff a year off, a year away, a year too late, because he wasn't able to do it before.
Yeah, he does sure love that. He sure loves to do that, even though Claudio is doing awesome things in AEW, but my goodness, you are probably right about that. And you're probably right about these top 5 Nigel McGuinness rivals. We're at number 3 on SP3's list, and SP3, who you got?
Number 3, and this was the match that I watched just before we went live here, and I was like, yeah, they had a great rivalry, and I saw the blow-off match before we went live here. Kevin Steen.
Hell
Kevin
yeah.
Steen and Nigel McGuinness was probably my favorite rivalry outside of the aforementioned number 1 spot that we all know is going to be number 1 rivalry for Nigel during his ROH world title run, because Kevin Steen really got to prove that he could be this great underdog babyface. And I think he did some of his best selling in all of Ring of Honor, of his whole time in Ring of Honor against Nigel. I was watching their matchup in ROH first visit to Canada, Northern Navigation, which is on the Ring of Honor YouTube channel, and just the bumps that Steen was taking.
Insane.
I was like, this is why you have back problems today, sir. Because you're taking gorilla press slams into the apron that are just going right to your spine. Nigel's working over your back with knees to the back and everything. But it really kind of showed that Kevin Steen could be a main event babyface, because really the first year of Ring of Honor was his rivalry, him and Generico's rivalry with the Briscoes, where they were great, kind of the babyface and heel tag team that became the top heel tag team, because they were going against the Briscoes, who were like the beloved babyfaces. But this run with him, him and Generico still chasing the tag team titles in the tag team division, but Steen being able to kind of show out in these matches against Nigel, and Nigel's coming up with different ways to cheat to beat him, whether it be at Injustice, where he put his feet on the ropes, the return match at Return Engagement, where he grabs the tights, and then the final matchup where Nigel basically hit him with every variation of a lariat that he could to finally put Steen away. I was literally off of a match that happened, 15 years ago. I had my jaw on the ground when Steen hits the package power driver and Nigel kicks out. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect Nigel to kick out of that. And it happened it's actually like 16 years ago. It's 2024. That was 2008. And I had my jaw on the ground watching that match over, because he kicked out of the package power driver, and then Steen kicked out of the jawbreaker lariat. I was like, oh shit, this match is great. Yeah. Steen really showed that he could be a main event babyface in that rivalry, and that's why he is number 3.
That jawbreaker lariat is just the nastiest stuff ever. And what I love about their matches is they're such completely different types of wrestlers, but they meet in the middle at just like violent. And I love seeing that come together, because I'm a big Styles make matchup person, but like if you don't have the unspoken speaking the same language common thread, I like when that is there, it is so magical. And you're right, that really showed you that Kevin Steen could just be a single star and be a guy who wrestles like that and is the size that he isn't normally your babyface underdog, but the way that Nigel and him went at it made him one. And that chess game, Chris Hero said that like British style wrestling or European style wrestling is mental and physical chess, and I've always loved that description, because you got so much of that with Nigel, and Kevin Steen just so emotive, just beautiful stuff. But Shea Monster with the chat, thank you so much for the support, saying SP3 list idea for next week, second ROH Hall of Fame class. Well, we have one for next week, and it's still Nigel related, but I love that people are nominating list ideas. That's a very fun thing. That's a very
put it in the chat, put it in the comments. If you're watching on demand, I will take all the list ideas and I'll set it up for each week. That can be maybe if more people think that we should do the second ROH Hall of Fame class, that can be in 2 weeks time. But next week is reserved for the best Nigel McGuinness Ring of Honor matches, because I saw somebody mentioning his Kurt Angle matches and they were great. Kurt Angle matches in TNA, man, I remember Desmond Wolf like it was just yesterday, coming in, beating Angle on his first night in. But we could save those for, you know, when Nigel gets pissed off at one of my other lists. So we'll save that. Nigel as Desmond Wolf top 5 matches. We'll save that for another time. We're only going to do top 5 best Nigel McGuinness Ring of Honor matches next week.
I think that's fair, and I'm assuming Bryan Danielson is going to be number 1 here, so I think you're still going to be a little bit in the doghouse with our dearest Nigel after your clam-digging ways last week, and Danielson being number 1 again here is just going to be brutal. But we're moving along, guys. Get in your super chats if there's anything you want to talk about on the show, just talk about in ROH in general. We do have that TNA post show coming up to celebrate the Impact 20th anniversary on the back half of this show. But a quick reminder to subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. All the scoop skis you could want. Shane Haste being a free agent means that everyone in Retribution is on their way to free agency. And what could come out of that? Probably nothing. But still, it's a fun thing to think about. A little Retribution reunion. Some carny indie promoters got to throw a lot of money at that. Okay, that's just a good idea. But so much contract news. Ricochet, Natalya, Becky Lynch, Dijak. My goodness. Will be Chad Gable. Going to be very fun to see what free agency brings to this wrestling cycle of contracts. But so much at FightfulSelect.com. Shawn's Q&A is just like, to me, the most valuable thing that we have. You have a question, he will try and get it answered, even if the answer is, I don't know. There's also an Ask SRS Discord channel. Please don't tag him in that channel. But do ask questions over there and do interact with normal people, because there are some of those, and a lot of them are subscribers, which is very refreshing to us. So head on over to FightfulSelect.com. Best $5 in the biz. $5. We got lists of top 5s here. We got 5s across the board. We're going to be a Domino's pizza special by the end of the show. You're going to have your 5. But we've got our ROH Women's TV Champion, Billie Starkz, and Zamaya in a proving ground match. Again, we had a very productive tournament. I don't understand why women in the back are not the ones that are challenging for these proving ground matches, why they're not the ones being awarded to them. It makes no sense to me at all, but fun match here. Most of the stories in the post match, but we do get that Billie Starkz swan dive that always looks so good off the top rope, and she gets her 11th win here. I'm really pleasantly surprised by how much I am liking heel Billie Starkz. And a large part of that is how well she's adapted her in-ring style to being a heel, because she's very likable and very easy to cheer for. But her kind of using Zamaya's offense against her in a couple parts of this, I thought was really, really good. Just being sneaky in there, really done a good job of expressing her heel persona, not just in her facial expressions and her mannerisms and whatever, but adapting her moveset to tell the story of who she is as an MIT sort of graduate, but definitely still under that tutelage, a learning tree that I would want to be under here. But post-match, we get Red Velvet appearing from behind, and we get Billie Starkz recognizing that, which is refreshing because we've seen a lot of that trope under the ROH AEW umbrella recently. But she scurries up the ramp and runs right into Queen Aminata, who throws her back in the ring, and they start to unload on Billie until the referee breaks it up a little early on the breakup for me. The post-match felt a little clunky, but some good stuff here. Always nice to see Billie in the ring. I just don't know why people in the locker room aren't the ones going after the titles. So, but a good one here. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice little squash win for Billie. Yeah, I really enjoy Billie as a heel. She just has the right mannerisms for it, and just her facial expressions just make it work. They didn't need to change her theme song, though. Her theme song is way too babyface.
It is very babyface.
for her current character. I think that's the only tidbit that I would change to the presentation wise, but I think she just making it work, and she's got that swagger of a champion that she kind of has taken from Athena as the Ring of Honor or women's TV champion now, and I like it a lot. And I like the fact that, you know, Red Velvet showing a bunch of fire against her. I like the fact that they have kind of positioned Red Velvet as the person that's going after the women's TV title, while Queen Aminata has stepped up to the Women's World Championship after Billie kind of won the championship at Supercard of Honor through nefarious means. I like that the fact that they have kind of separated that, but also kept this feud together, where you could pretty much do the tag team match at a pay-per-view and prolong this even further. I don't want them to do that. I want them to do the tag team matchup probably as soon as this month. Sometime in the next couple of weeks would be nice to really set up and put things in motion for the two singles rivalries going into Death Before Dishonor. So I've been enjoying this so far, but I would like to see, you know, Billie actually defend her title that she won 2 months ago for the first time. Would it be the first time she would be defending it?
I think you're right. I think you're right about that, because it's been a lot of proving ground matches for her. I do at least appreciate if you're not going to give me title matches. I didn't, as much of a Shane Homer as I am, I didn't actually mean to click that. But and I love Smosh too. God bless. But yeah, I think at least she's been having matches that have stakes to them. But like facing someone in the locker room would be a more productive of this TV title reign for sure. I agree with you. Let's get that tag program out and underway. This Red Velvet post-injury return run has been so good, and she looks even more comfortable with Queen Aminata. I gotta say, like, she feels so settled into where she's at. I kind of want them to capitalize sooner than later, even though she's just had this title pretty recently and she hasn't really been defending it. I kind of want to see Red Velvet win. Like, I don't want the chase to be that long. I'm not mad about it, but we will see. We will see what's to come, because I think it still might be Billie Starkz taking it off of Athena, but we will find out. We're heading into our main.
They're trying to have Athena pass Samoa Joe. I think that's the goal now.
You know, I was thinking about this, and I said a while ago, and I stand by it. Like, I wonder if as long as they're in rights negotiations, we're just going to have Athena as the champion, because they've built this program on her back. And if you're trying to either get it TV or you're trying to get it built into Max, you're trying to say there's value, you take Athena off the show, all of a sudden it doesn't feel like much of anything. So I'm wondering if that's in play here, of like, hey, we made it this really incredible brand off of this woman's back. And they're like, oh, cool. And then you're like, actually, we're calling up. Like, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. So we'll see. We'll see. But it continues down the mountain. It continues down the mountain for sure. Guys, get in those super chats. We're headed into what is the main event only by the fact that it is on last. I have no idea why your world title match or your TV title match did not go on in this main event slot. It makes absolutely no damn sense. Seems like lazy editing, because you had a week to edit this shit together. But you do have the Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Evil Uno picking up the win over Cole Karter, Griff Garrison, and Johnny TV, who had some kind of funny chemistry in this. But against Bronson, Boulder, and Jack Jameson. Congratulations on the coming out that was had there. That makes me very, very happy that wrestlers are feeling more and more comfortable to reveal their sexuality. So congratulations to them. Happy Pride Month to all. But we have Silver getting the pin on Jameson to get the win for the Dark Order. There was a fun sequence in here where Jameson lays Karter out with a monstrous lariat, but then Johnny TV's like right there with a shining wizard, which I liked. But parts of this felt a little clunky, as I think happens with 9-person matches. I'm a little confused about Karter and Garrison, because it just feels like, one, I don't know where Maria is, and two, like, her husband is an ROH tag champion. Doesn't that feel like an inevitable feud? Like, they're not my favorite team, but story dictates, like, those two should be facing each other. What were your thoughts on our main event, and what is this? Because I'm very happy to see the Dark Order back in action and getting a win here. I hope it leads to a 6-man title shot, but Karter and Garrison feel like they should be in tag contention at some point here, right? They got to start picking up some valuable tag wins, I'd hope.
I don't even think they need to pick up wins. You can have Maria kind of negotiate the deal at the dinner table, or
Sure.
in the bedroom. Wherever it works best. To make those type of negotiations with your husband for a Ring of Honor World Tag Team title shot. If you're looking out for your boys, I would love for Maria to rejoin the Kingdom because I feel like she was the Kingdom back in the Ring of Honor days. So I would love to see her paired back up with Mike Bennett. And trust me, I think we all know the Undisputed Kingdom needs something because they're DOA right now. Jesus, like they need Maria right now. So that I wouldn't mind that, and I wouldn't mind Cole Karter and Griff Garrison aligning with Johnny TV and being Team TV. If he's not going to team up with Dalton Castle, have him have some young proteges by his side, and Talia have her own. They wanted some boys before they got themselves clipped. They got some boys here that they can use and abuse at their own will and be kind of Johnny TV's heaters as he moves up the card and can be a main eventer with a group like that. So I like the pairing here. That's one thing. And I like the fact that Dark Order got the win, and Dark Order was babyface here. Whenever whenever -1 is around, they seem to be babyface. Go figure. But it was nice to see them, get cheers, be in the right position that they were supposed to, because I felt like their heel run was not well thought out last year. So it was nice to see them back in the babyface role here in Ring of Honor and picking up the win in the main event. As far as the Iron Savages, I mean, hey, they're heel now. So Jameson was good at getting some heat for the team in his opening promo. And yeah, like you said, it was kind of clunky throughout the matchup, but that's kind of what you're going to get with a triple threat trios match.
Sure, I agree. And very nice to see the Dark Order getting a win. You're right. It felt kind of like stock heat to me, but it was effective heat that Jack Jameson got. So was kind of just like the your local sports team stinks kind of feel to it, but sometimes it's effective when you don't have a lot of promo time. So some good stuff as we round out Ring of Honor there. Again, congratulations to Bear Bronson on coming out and feeling comfortable to do so. We're very, very happy about that here. But we're going to bring on Joel and Cresta, as I feel like my internet is quitting before I am, but we are going to bring on the TNA Impact crew.
You're just going through time and space.
It's okay though. There you go. There you
go. We even found Cresta along the way. Hello.
Hey, Cresta.
How we doing, friends?
So
hey guys. Hi guys.
Jesus Christ. Cresta Star. It has been a month and a half. Get a pair of dollar store earbuds. Put them in your ears. Get to work, lady. What are we doing?
Honestly, I ask myself that every day, and I have no idea what I'm doing. SP3, how was your first shift here at Fireful? You're an elite employee now.
I went from Rod Belding to Richard Belding, and I'm very proud of myself. Hey guys. Hi guys. Thanks guys. Nice to see you guys. You didn't give me time to give my number 2 and number 1 for my list.
Oh my goodness, the big reveal. My apologies.
Nigel McGuinness, top number 2 greatest rival in Ring of Honor history is Claudio Castagnoli, because those two guys made their names with each other in Ring of Honor, fighting over the Pure Championship. Then Claudio challenging Nigel for the Ring of Honor World Championship and losing so much that he turned heel on Bryan Danielson. And speaking of which, number 1 is of course Bryan Danielson. I'm sorry, Nigel. I expect the tweet where you're gonna assault me again.
And well deserved, because you ranked Bryan Danielson number 1 multiple times, but we all know. He is a clip. Thank you, Cresta. Thank you for understanding.
Listen, I don't agree, but as someone who covers Collision, that's all I hear is how he's a clam digger. I don't even know what that means.
You don't need to. You just know it's bad and it shouldn't exist, and to save the clams. But SP3 putting over Danielson.
I'm a clam digger too. I'm a clam digger too, and I'm not even vegan.
True. So it's true.
It's weird.
It's upsetting. It's upsetting. Save the clams, but save your chat money for this next crew that's coming up to talk about the TNA Impact post show. Cresta, Joel, how'd it go tonight with 20 years of Impact?
20 years, and you know what we have to show for it? Frankie Kazarian in the main event twice.
I don't know. I didn't feel like this was. It didn't feel like a 20-year anniversary. That's how I felt. I cannot speak for Mr. Joseph Pearl himself.
Let me put it like this. It was a good episode of Impact to get you ready for Against All Odds, which is next Friday. So there's still one more episode before the show. They also taped this several weeks ago, and it felt like, oh yeah, this is going to cross the air date of June the 6th, and we'll be 20 years of Impact TV by this point. So let's like do little funky, fun stuff. And that was great. Again, I love that they did the classic intro and that they did the classic chyrons, the lower thirds and everything. They did cool production stuff, but like, it was fine. Kazarian was in the first TNA Impact TV main event, so he was in tonight's main event. So little things they did was fine.
I wasn't watching then. They need to cater to me only. So this is ridiculous. I hated it. This was the worst show ever. I'm kidding. It was a good show. It was a good show. I didn't feel like it was an anniversary show.
I'm gonna get buried by TNA now because of what you said.
The Kate plan of every card should be booked for me, which I appreciate because I feel that way very much too. I feel like they kind of got shot in the foot with the Jordynne Grace Roxanne thing. People's expectations were probably way too high of like, oh my God, AJ Styles is going to come back. And it's like, well, no, and it was pre-taped, so we would have known.
Kate, when I tell you, and I've said this on our show before, TNA has been throwing their ass in a seance circle trying to get AJ Styles to appear. They even paid for a cameo. They are this close to getting one AJ Styles to come back. And I want to see what's about to transpire. So I can't wait to see how this turns out.
I wouldn't be surprised if AJ joins the TNA Hall of Fame this year. Maybe next year.
That would be very cool. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
we're closer now than we've ever been.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Right,
well, I'm gonna get out of here because my internet hates me. And we're all done anyway. But have a great show. Stick around, learn about what happened on TNA SP3. Thanks for officially being on board. We'll see you guys next week.
SP3, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
But I didn't even know that. Bye, guys. See you guys. Thanks, guys.
The learning tree.
We did it, Reddit.
Boy, did we ever. I'm a little preoccupied. I apologize. I'm going to try not to be. The Toronto transit system might be going on strike tonight. And that's a huge issue. If it does, Cresta, you are a New Yorker. You understand how much of a problem it is when a major urban city's entire transit system decides that they might be going on strike.
I think there's a law in New York City that says that the transit system can't go on strike.
You're deemed an essential service.
Yeah. However, I was alive during 9/11 and I was in school when that happened and the train system shut down and you literally had to march from the middle of Manhattan to wherever you went because no one was getting anywhere by car or by train. So a train system shutting down in a metro area is hell.
It's all of it. It's our trains, our streetcars, our buses, our entire commission might be shutting down tonight at 2 a.m. going on strike. Last time they did this, it lasted 48 hours and then legislation came through the government. They were like, get back to work. This time they're getting closer to a possible deal. The reason why this messes with me mostly is because we take our kid to daycare via public transit. So if we don't, then we have a kid at home tomorrow. We'll see. I mean, I'm primarily work at home, so does my partner. It's just a wrench in everyone's gear, not just mine. It's a massive city, so we'll see. So if I'm a little preoccupied, that's why. If you see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm refreshing Twitter to see if there have been any announcements from the media relations department of the Toronto Transit Commission. Hooray.
You know I love to talk, so if anything, we can fill the time with the sound of Cresta's
Well,
I don't know what that's called, but a cackle, a laugh.
It's a lackle.
Wackle.
Not that. Someone in the chat's asking if we cover the NWA as well. We don't cover the NWA, but if you subscribe to FightfulSelect.com, the best $5 in the business, not only do you get a lot of exclusive news, and you get Q&As, and you get access to our Discord, and you get the Weekender podcast. Steven Jensen hosts that. He covers NWA on that particular program. That's in podcast form. And, when NWA does some cool stuff, we do talk. Well, some of our shows talk about it, not me necessarily, but also if you're maybe not in a position to do FightfulSelect.com, Jensen does also host a free show here on youtube.com/Fightful. It is called The Spotlights with Jeremy Lambert, who co-hosts another show with me. They sometimes dip into some NWA talk. So there you go. If you are a fan of that, if you're just a wrestling fan, you want some good old-fashioned wrestling talk, FightfulSelect.com. You know what you do. Drop my kid off at 1 a.m. Problem solved. That's the answer.
That's diabolical.
He's asleep right now.
You got kid off at 1 a.m. You got that cap of money, Mr. Scott?
It's boarding school. Anyway. Hi, Cresta. How are you tonight?
I am feeling quite lovely in this house of TNA. I am mourning the loss of TNA Plus. I got refunded my $5 for YouTube, and I had to spend $10 and start at 8 o'clock tonight. I'm a little sad. However, I do enjoy the break for my hands to write. So they okay. Let's go back. For those who may not know, over on YouTube on the TNA channel, they've sunset their $5 tier on their memberships, which was all of the live Impact airings on Thursday nights and any YouTube specials they were doing, or any monthly specials that were not pay-per-view. So Against All Odds, for example, would have been considered one of those $5 tier shows that you would get. They are trying to push people to go to TNA Plus. Honestly, they're doing a really good push for it. They're also offering a bunch of promo codes that kind of take some of the edge off of the cost, and it's good. With that, the initial pushback was that TNA Impact was not airing live on TNA Plus. So this week, they announced that they were going to do a live TNA Impact airing at 8 p.m. Eastern instead of the usual 10 p.m. Eastern. That saved a lot of people, got them wanting to sign up. I'm going to be honest, I had plans to do the same. I ended up resubscribing to the $1 tier for now on YouTube because I like the 8:30 start. I like the no commercials. I can scrub easily, and I can also do playback speeds, so I can go 1.75 and kind of get through matches, take my notes, do what I need to do. And also, I can still use Triller for some of the events, like Against All Odds. It's $10. So I'm on the fence. I don't know what I'm going to do. I had plans to do TNA Plus, but I don't know if I'm going to yet. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see how the reaction is to those who batch signed up to TNA Plus, and then I'm going to get some feedback, and then I might sign up for the service. So far, I will say, I did it because 1, I don't want to look. 2, I'm lazy. 3, yeah, I could resubscribe to YouTube. However, I do want to support TNA more directly because I've been following these guys for over 2 years now, and I thoroughly enjoy the product. The quality is great. There's no picture-in-picture. And like I said, there's a break for commercials that you don't see. It just says we'll be right back. So if you want to go to the bathroom or whatever it is, so I will give you that. So if you want any type of input,
I will be soliciting yours. I know I will. That's good so far. All right, we'll see how it goes. And you know what, chat? If you sign up for TNA Plus, tell us in the chat, or if you're watching this after the fact, go ahead, drop a comment. Tell us if you have signed up for TNA Plus, if it's something that you're enjoying or looking forward to exploring a little bit. And that's probably going to sway my decision as to where I go from here. Regardless, they're still going to get my money one way or another. That's just the way it is. Are you ready to start for realsies?
I am born ready.
And a 1 and a 2. Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful.com, and it's time for your TNA Impact 20th anniversary post show. It's June 6, 2024. I'm at Joel Pearl, and of course, Cresta the Star is with me. How are you tonight, Cresta Star?
I feel amazing. I'm excited to talk about TNA. I hope you guys are excited to talk about TNA with us. Joel, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. I'm tired, but I'm here and I'm excited because tonight's episode of TNA Impact was a fun one. I was mentioning in the crossover, which audio friends may not get, but you can if you subscribe to us over at youtube.com/Fightful, where we do this live. I was saying that this is an interesting show because not only do they get you ready for Against All Odds, which is in about a week and a day, but also they did a good job of harkening back to the old school Impact logos and designs and all of the intros and graphics. That stuff ruled. I loved seeing that. The show itself, it was fine. I do kind of agree. Chat saying Impact 1000 had better energy. I think the energy was different, and it's not a bad thing. But Impact 1000 did have something special attached to it. What did you think overall, 20th anniversary of Impact? Was it something that got you excited, or was it just kind of there and it was another show?
I too said this during the crossover. I didn't really feel like it was an anniversary show. It felt like it did set up things going into Against All Odds. Definitely with the end with Joe Hendry showing up, and then again with Matt Hardy. However, I do agree with the sentiment that Impact 1000 felt a little bit more special. Impact 1000 felt like what tonight should have been. And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it was a little bit too impromptu. Sometimes things happen. And TNA is good for, okay, we didn't do anything for this date, but TNA 476 randomly, we got you, girl. We're going to do something really special. So I'm not too worried about it. It just didn't feel like an anniversary show.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that and the rest of the show tonight. And of course, we'll talk about FightfulSelect.com. But in the meantime, how about you leave a thumbs up on the video? If you're listening to us in audio form, go ahead, drop a 5-star review wherever you're listening right now. That gets us a little bit closer to hitting more friends, more wrestling fans to talk about us here on Fightful.com. And of course, all of our subsidiaries, whether it's Overbooked, Select, all the other stuff that we do here at Fightful. And of course, why haven't you left a comment yet? Leave a comment. Get in the chat. Maybe you're live and listening to us. You want to drop super chat, any amount, get your question or statement read on the air, or you go to humperchats.com. Cresta, tell them how, when, why, and all the stuff.
Hey, you listen. It doesn't matter if you're listening in audio form or visual form. Listen to me. Hey, you listening? Okay. Go to humperchats.com. humperchats.com. Type your comment in and make sure you put TNA and be like, Cresta, Joel, you told me to do this and I felt scared, so I did. You put your dollar amount in. If we're live, we'll read it to you live on air. We'll read it. We'll give you our 2 cents that you may or may not have asked for. We get to keep most of that 2 cents. We're happy. Shawn's happy. The lights stay on. Humperchats.com. I'll choke you. If that's what you're into, consensually, of course. Of course.
I'm sorry, you're what?
Choke you. You know, when you know, like
Nope,
what Khan does, you know, when he throws people up out the ring, you know, with consent, of course, you know. I'm trained. I'm trained. Not a wrestler, but I'm trained.
Okay. Okay. Impact opens up with Jake something defeating Khan, big chokes, big dudes doing big dude things. Match was fine. I like, this was a little, okay. Throughout the night, you'll see little connections between the original episode of Impact and 20 years later being this episode. I love that Jake something, who uses the black hole slam, doesn't call it that, but it is the Abyss black hole slam, uses the same move to defeat Khan, and they make reference on commentary to the first match ever on Impact Television where it was Abyss versus Shark Boy, and Abyss gets the win with the black hole slam. They do the same thing, same finish, first move, first used, first match, good stuff. Jake something beats Khan. Post-match, this is where things get a little strange. Khan attacks Jake something, choke slams him, like Cresta was saying, loves to choke, and then threatens to snap his neck. Again, loves to choke. And then Eric Young comes out. He makes a save. Don't know why, but then EY comes out and he does the rah thank you speech. Thank you for 20 years of Impact, and thank you for being fans. And we get it. At this point, Eric Young is very much the locker room leader outwardly at TNA, and that's great. It just felt a little disjointed, especially when he says he was drinking a liter of bourbon. Cresta, the match, the post-match, your thoughts?
The match itself, great. I will say whichever company makes a meat division will have my love and devotion forever, because the crowd tonight was chanting meat every time these guys were lariating each other. Great. I mean, forearms, sorry. Great. stiff, amazing. I think Jake something winning here was the right call. I don't think Khan looks bad in defeat. Totally there with you with the Eric Young thing. Okay, I was like, Eric Young comes out to save the day. Cuts a speech. What does that have to do with anything? And then when they zoomed out to the wide shot, you could still see Khan standing there. I'm like, Khan, go to the back, girl. Why are you still standing there? Be like Jake something and then what? Ooh, I don't know. It was a little odd. I'm never going to be mad to see Eric Young. I just think the transition one into the other, I would have rather you give the match a little bit more time or a proper finish. You know what I mean? I don't get it.
I understood that this was the first match of the night, so or at least the first match that they're airing. So maybe this was the middle match of the tapings, and this is when they brought out EY just to have a little fun and get the crowd back on their feet. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I could probably ask if I wanted, but at the same time, this was the first match of the show. They needed to set the tone, and maybe they just didn't want to have Eric Young come out, cut a random promo, and then go to the back introducing Jake Something and Khan. Maybe they'll do Khan versus EY down the line. Maybe that's where we're going. But for now, it just felt very disjointed. It just kind of happened.
It kind of is like, I don't know. I don't want Eric Young versus Khan because I feel like that's a violent by design. And I think we're finally getting to a place where Khan is free. Diener's doing something. I don't know what Diener's doing, but he's doing something. And Eric Young is always going to be Eric Young. So I low-key don't want that, if that makes sense, because I feel like we're past that. We've moved on.
Okay, I can get behind that. We got a super chat from Andy Nguyen saying TNA needs more roster. They've got a pretty good base, and they're pretty good at bringing in special guests for their tapings. I don't know if TNA needs not a bloated roster, but needs more people that are always there. I think they make really good choices with the stars they choose to push forward. I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
I don't think that they need more roster. I do think that they need maybe a reimagining of their roster. One of my complaints recently has been the Knockouts tag division and the tag division right now. There are tons of single stars who, for one reason or the other, can't be near the X division or even the digital media for that matter. So I think the tag division really could use some sprucing on both sides. So I don't think necessarily that they need more people, just a reimagining. Maybe one or two more tag teams, especially for the Knockouts women, couldn't hurt. But even then, I feel like there's only so much taping time, you know? That's what I'm thinking of, like how much time they're going to put into the storylines that they do have, and then adding more people. And then there's still people that we still haven't seen. Savannah Evans, Jay Vidal, just to name the Shaw Taraj. I haven't seen them in a while unless they're on Explosion, which I guess I now could watch on TNA Plus, you know?
They're not, but you can watch it on YouTube too. They're not. They're not around. The idea of women's tag teams, I was thinking about this the other day. Every company that seems to do women's tag teams in any way, shape, or form, there aren't enough women's tag teams to go around. And we always talk about how they just kind of get thrown together as a team and randomly win. I don't know if that's because there is just a lack of just general interest in booking women's tag teams across wrestling right now, or if it's a lack of interest in general and just paying lip service to people who are wanting women's tag teams. That's not a knock at anyone. I quite enjoy the Knockouts division as well. And I enjoyed the WWE women's tag division. I enjoyed the women's tag team matches that they run on AEW and also in the NWA. I just wonder how much the emphasis or the lack of emphasis plays a role in those women wanting to form tag teams and work in a tag environment.
Maybe this is me being a lapsed newer fan's opinion, but like I will always come back to the example of the bar. Franken teams can work, but you gotta want them to, you know? So an odd couple can work. Like I thought if we're switching over to WWE for a second, a Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax tag team should be running roughshod on your division. What do you mean? You know what I mean? Even with TNA, when I think of Havoc and Rosemary, yes. Even when you had not Jazelle Shaw, Savannah Evans and Tasha Steeles, yes. I think everyone has their own dreams of being world champion, and nobody wants to be a tag team specialist unless you're FTR for the rest of your life. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that if you don't book them compellingly, no one's going to care. And I look at me. Look, I'm gonna use myself. Look at me and Steve Macklin. I used to be like, meh. And now I'm like, yo, this guy out. He cooking, he working. A good storyline. All it takes is to switch someone's opinion, but you've got to book them. And I also understand that, again, the time constraints. You can't book everyone. So I wouldn't want to add more people. I would just want you to care about the division, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, because if you don't show love to your division and you don't build that division, then what are you building? What are you doing? And as other people are pointing out in the chat, it feels like it's two in, two out when it comes to the amount of teams that are pushed. And we see that frequently in TNA. And that's not necessarily, it's an ongoing issue, but it's not a bad issue. It's just a problem when it becomes obvious. Like when Spitfire was put together and then they named the team and then they gave them Lars Fredrickson, they gave them new music. It was like, all right, we know what we're doing. Just give them the tag titles. And that's exactly what they did. Now, who's the next team that's going to do that? I like the idea. We talked about this, that Masha and Lish are together. Masha, Lisha have the tag titles, but there's zero emphasis on their tag team. And now Danny Luna and Jody Threat want to get the titles back, but they're also teasing some sort of dissension through Lars Fredrickson. So it's like, we're just going to split them up and do it again. Killer Kelly comes back. That's another side of the equation when it comes to Masha Lisha. So there are stories to be told, but it feels like a lot of them are just coming from singles wrestling.
Yeah, and I think, again, the problem with tag team wrestling across the board with the 2 in, 2 out. You can't do 2 in, 2 out when there's only 3 people there. You know what I mean? You've got your champion, you've got a challenger team that the challenger team is going to beat, and then the jabroni team is going to come after this team wins and this team is on its way out. Like, that's the formula everywhere around. And it's kind of like, you can't do that. Like, you got to make people care. If you book it with care, people will care. And I've seen every company book people with care. So I can I say this? Can I say lazy booking? Can I say that? Because that's how I feel. Lazy booking.
You're allowed to feel that way. It's and it's not necessarily lazy in a way that we're like, oh, everything sucks. It's more like,
yeah.
I use this analogy a lot of spinning plates, that when you have so many plates that are spinning in the air, you have to continue going back to spin the plate that maybe didn't get as much emphasis and as much love as another plate. So you're kind of consistently trying to keep all the plates floating and spinning, but eventually one's going to teeter-totter, and that's right now maybe the Knockouts tag team division.
No, that's a fair assessment. And again, I think this is not just a critique of the Knockouts division. Dear Cat, I love you to death, but not right now. I think this is a critique not of just the Knockouts division, but of also like tag team wrestling everywhere as a whole. Like, I want them to be booked more compellingly so people will care. I think it's dinner time because I never see a Johnny and she's like, hey, Mom, I'm hungry. We always see fat Bully Ray, and this cat is elusive, so I know something's up.
Have you not fed your cats today?
Oh, they're on a schedule. They're just antsy.
I know the feeling. I haven't eaten today. I get it. Gia Miller's backstage with Frankie Kazarian. The system requested that Kazarian faces Nick Nemeth tonight. And I like where this is going. At first, I'm like, why would Frankie do a match with Nemeth? And they didn't really explain it until this segment. The system walk in and Lish does her "no one can understand you" with that accent bit with Gia Miller. And I chuckled. It's stupid. I love it. But Myers mentions, it's a benefit to be friends with the system, mentions Masha Lisha, and then Kazarian talks about deserving a main event on Impact because he was the first main eventer, and then he's going to get a title shot against Moose. And Moose is like, listen, you take care of Nick Nemeth, you get the title shot. And I love that Kazarian throws it back. And he's like, you got to beat Matt Hardy first. And it's like, all right, that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. They walk off. They set the tone that this match was requested and that there's something down the line for Kazarian and Moose. What do you think of this whole segment?
Like you said, it made sense because I was thinking, like Gia Miller said, since when does a king take orders? And that's when not Mashalicious. This was like, hey, knock that off. That thought that was quite funny. And it's crazy that a Jersey girl is telling a girl from down south, a girl from Boston is telling a girl from down south, no one can understand your accent. Madness. No, it was good. It was good. It was good. It didn't make a lot of sense. I'm also actually surprised Frankie Kazarian didn't make Gia introduce him as the king of TNA because he was really punking Jade, and I don't like that. Still doesn't sit right in my spirit.
From Boston, sorry. Yeah, this again, it sets up a really, really good story down the line between the System and Kazarian, and of course, Lisha doing this stupid Boston accent well, that's her accent, but playing into it and be like, I can't understand because of your stupid accent. It's like, it's so stupid, but it's so perfect. And we keep running it back, and it's just what I need. And then they go to commercial. Gia Miller's then standing with Steph DeLander. Wedding. It's happening. It's happening. If Speedball gets a big match at Slammiversary, PCO gets a big wedding at Slammiversary. The love letter is finally opened, and it says "Oui ou non" for those who don't speak French. Yes or no. It is a child's "Do you like me?" circle yes or no. And then Zaya Brookside's like, "Oh, it was nice. It's very sweet." And then she tells Steph DeLander to take a week and reflect on it. And Steph's like, "Fine, I'll do it." So that's like wedding. And you got to deal with cats. This is why you need your headphones back.
Ooh, it was in the skin. That nail was in the skin.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to kick and complain to the altar. No, I did not want to hit we. I wanted to hit no. I mean, Zaya, mind your business. First of all, why are you coming out here? Don't make this last a long week. Zaya, mind your business. Like, no one asked you for this, Zaya. Mind your business. I mean, I'm going to kick and scream to the altar, but it'll be worth it once Matt Cardona comes out that
cake. Oh, I wasn't thinking about cake, but now I'm all about it.
Yeah,
people are talking about foods. People have been talking about good foods all night that I want. Who should be the best man? Someone's asking in the chat. Who would be the best man at it? Well, it should be Cardona, but I mean, if you're going to do a surprise that he comes out, takes out PCO, oh man, the bride. The bride obviously is Steph DeLander. The maid of honor becomes Zaya Brookside.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who's
and you
PCO's
have
best man?
Sammy Callahan, because he was spawned from a septic tank.
It's not bad. It's so stupid. I love it. It's gonna be like Johnny Bravo. Where's Dirty Dango? Damn it.
Dirty Dango would not be involved in this because pro wrestling sucks and he hates it. Why would he be involved in this?
Because this isn't pro wrestling. This is sports entertainment.
Grrr.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Anyway, we'll see what they do. Listen, they gotta do a wrestling wedding out of this. I'm sorry, that's just the rule. And if I'm there live, I'm gonna be over the moon. It's gonna be great. Meanwhile, I'm over the moon because Jazelle Shaw's back. She defeats our good old pal Shaza McKenzie, Sean Ross Sapp's bestie as well. New theme song for Jazelle, and now she's billed from being from the Northwest Territories, which I did not expect to hear tonight. Shout out to the Northwest Territories of Canada. Gail Kim's reacting and watching backstage. It's a good, solid match. Jazelle looks crisp. Shaza sells like $1 million. The denouement gets the win. Shaza drops the match, but has a good showing. And Jazelle Shaw's back and is clearly on the warpath. What do you think of this match and the return of Jazelle Shaw?
Jazelle was stiff before, but boy, oh boy, she worked this match like she had something to prove. Shaza was great. And I'm like, damn, that's the girl that beat up my boss. That's crazy. That's crazy. Damn, that's crazy. But no, this match was great. I think this was a great showing back for Jazelle Shaw. The new music, even the gear is kind of different. I'm like, okay, I live. I can't wait to see where this is going. eventually, I think I'm on borders, like you said. If this leads to a retirement match, because I think Gail Kim retired or she didn't or whatever it is with her and Jazelle, that match is going to be phenomenal.
If I'm in the head of Gail Kim, Impact 1000, she was in that big multi-woman knockouts match. And unfortunately, she suffered a concussion in the match. She had a rough bump and she finished the match. She's okay overall. But if I'm in the head of Gail Kim, that can't be the last one. That cannot be the last match. You got to do one more and you got to pass the torch one more time, one right time. And it looks like they're trying to make Jazelle Shaw the quintessential knockout. No longer diva, now the knockout, the quintessential knockout. That's where it's going. That's where I would like to see it go. I'll sit that again.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. I would like to see it go that way as well. And honestly, I think, and I don't want to put this juju out into the air, but I think it'd be advantageous for TNA to start building their next round of stars. You know what I mean? I will talk about it more in detail when we get to the Jordynne Grace match, but I think Jazelle Shaw being in a top spot, and no one would question it. She's earned her stripes. She can wrestle. She can go the distance, and the girl, she can go. She can go. So I think what they're doing with her is very smart. Very smart.
And she's been close to the mountaintop. This isn't something that we haven't seen before with her. So this might be just the beginning of Jazelle Shaw's real opportunity. We got a super chat from Jana saying, I love Giselle's new presentation and entrance music. If Jordynne Grace ends up leaving, I want her as the face of the division. Give her the title, not Ash. We'll talk about her in a little bit. Jordynne still has about a year left on her deal. So I don't think she's going to leave anytime soon because contracts. But if you're going to pass the torch, you start with Gail Kim and you move up to the Knockouts Championship. That's a story worth going for. That's a story worth telling if Jordynne Grace decides that her time is finished at the end of her contract, and Jazelle Shaw also decides to stick around because she also might have other options on the table that she would want to explore down the road. There's a lot of opportunity here. If you give her the title, I don't think anyone will complain.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that was actually the point I was going to make for the Jordynne Grace match. It's like, let's say Jordynne Grace is like, you know what? I would like to see what I can do elsewhere. I've done all I felt I wanted to do here in TNA, which I can completely respect. She's worked her butt off on this brand, and I think she's amazing there. And I could respect whatever she decides to do. Having someone like a Jazelle Shaw, a Tasha Steelz, you build up your Savannah Evans, because if you think about it, within 2 years, you would have lost Deonna Purrazzo, Chelsea Green, and Jordynne Grace, and Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah, in a couple of years, they've had a lot of turnover in the Knockouts division, and they've cycled through a few women as well. So Jazelle being that person, 3 years, 4 years later, Mia Yim's another one who came in for a cup of coffee, and Trinity as well came in for.
I was about to say Trinity as well.
Yeah, they've both come back and had an impact, no pun intended. And now it's time to rebuild that division. I think when we got that super chat earlier that mentioned more roster, the Knockouts division is one of those you need your tentpole stars, and then everyone else is an extra. I think that's where you go. We had a Humper chat from Feeling Droopy saying about the women's tag team stuff, saying every women's tag decision seems to have 3 teams at a time, one thrown together, a pair of mainstays who never win anything, and whoever the champions are at the moment. And when the champions lose, they go away, and another thrown together tag team is made. I couldn't have put it better myself. That's the way it seems to be. It's not TNA specific. It happens in WWE as well. The NWA has also had a few of those. Honestly, one of the only tag teams that I continue to see as a tag team are the Hex. And they're both on tonight's show in some way, shape, or form.
You know what's crazy? When I first started watching wrestling, I used to complain about how annoying the Iconics were. And now that it's like, 4 years removed, I miss the Iconics. I miss the Riot Squad. I miss actual women's tag team. I miss the inspiration, even, bro. I miss the influence. What I miss, I like, bro. Like, there are mainstay women tag teams, but you're absolutely right. There's your Franken team, the tag team that never win nothing, and then your champions, who sometimes, oftentimes, not looking at you, WWE, but looking at you, WWE, is it someone who can't be near the championship right now and an up and comer.
We'll see who comes up next. Rosemary has her backstage segment. She's talking to herself again. She's all alone. Her friends are gone. There's a photo of Father James Mitchell because of where he was involved with the Dark Realm forever and ever. Amen. And says those responsible will pay. I'm waiting. I'll put it like that. I'm waiting to see where they go with this. Rosemary has been around Impact TNA for a number of years. I said this before. There is opportunity there to reignite the Rosemary story and Rosemary character the way it started, but they're really slow burning it. Maybe it Against All Odds she comes out. Maybe she's the next challenger for Jordynne Grace. That could be it, because Jordynne Grace does have an open challenge. Of course, there's reporting out there that, the NXT crossover stuff doesn't just happen on NXT and that it could be coming to TNA. We don't know. Rosemary's another name, though, that could potentially be an open challenge adversary for someone like Jordynne Grace. What do you think of this segment? Did it spark your fancy, or was it just kind of there?
Honestly, I don't know what the hell Rosemary was talking about this segment. I respect Rosemary. I think she is a phenomenal wrestler, but she's like, we are gods and gods don't fail and everyone will pay. But I'm like, who's everyone? I'm so confused. I'm gonna let it play out because I have faith. No matter, Rosemary can do no wrong, but I wasn't sports entertained. I was sports confused. So
I get it. I do. Macklin and Santana are backstage. The Rascals jumped both men last week, and now Macklin thinks that him and Santana should be working together to take out the Rascals. And Santana, I like this, cuts him right off. He's like, no, I'm not doing any of this tag team wrestling shit. I'm done with that. And that's real life too, right? Santana decided, I want to take a bet on myself. I want to go singles. I don't want to do the tag team stuff. And Macklin's like, I don't trust people either. I don't like people either, but I'm not going to attack people from behind. I'll attack them to their face. There's one thing that Santana and Macklin have both said in interviews, and that is that they did not realize how closely the two resemble each other's stories. Despite having different backgrounds, their wrestling stories are similar. And I love that they're playing off on this here. And then Macklin eventually convinces him, and Against All Odds, it'll be the Rascals taking on Macklin and Santana. Next week on the show, it's Santana versus Zachary Wentz. There's some good stuff here. What do you think of this backstage segment?
I feel Santana's pain when he said, yo, I don't think you the only one who didn't get the memo. I'm not doing it. And I can understand. It's the same way I felt about Alan Angels. I just got out of a group. I don't want to be in another group. I just got out of a bad breakup. I'm not trying to date anybody. Thank you so much. No, thank you. However, if the Rascals have proven anything, they're annoying and they're going to keep attacking you. So one time, poor Santana, if wrestling has taught me anything, there's no such thing as one time. This is going to be a best 2 out of 3 match until Santana says enough is enough. No mas. So we'll see. I don't think it's one time, though. I feel bad for Santana because I'm already pissed for him. I'm pissed for Macklin, too, because the Rascals are going to be the reason why this is not a one-time thing.
I would like for this to end with Macklin and Santana casting off the Rascals, being done with it, and then saying, you know what? You and I have some shit to deal with. You and I are going to fight because we still want to see who's the best in this company and who deserves a spot. And then the story changes from mutual hatred to a bit of mutual respect based on the ability to find common ground and also the healthy competition that comes with it. I don't necessarily need both men to suddenly be baby faces and rah-rah friends, but I think the respect there would lead to a much stronger story in a match where they're not just trying to kick each other in the dick at the end. Not that they have yet.
That's fair. No, I can see that too. I think that'd be a nice layer to the story. I don't hate that.
Yeah, and both men are perennial world champion qualifiers. Like, they are perennial world champion contenders, I should say. There's no reason why either man wouldn't get a shot. But right now, they're jockeying for position, and that's what you want to do with two strong personalities and two strong wrestlers. You let them go, and you let them have those matches and those moments that prove which one is better than the other. It's good stuff.
Good shit, pal.
Speedball Mountain defeat Mustafa Ali and Campaign Singh. Again, I love the idea that Campaign Singh was just sitting in the back, just being like, my name is Champagne Singh. Oh, the H gets rubbed off. It's Campaign. I got an idea. That's how I think that's how I think that it all came together. This match is fine. This match is good. This is obviously a bit of a promotional material, a little bit of a look ahead to next week and Against All Odds on Friday, because it's going to be Trent Seven taking on Mustafa Ali for the X Division Championship in Mustafa Ali's hometown of Chicago. But really the big moment here was that the 7-star lariat into the Birminghammer from Trent Seven onto Campaign Singh, while Ali has to watch it. And then Seven gets the win over Ali. Well, not really. He pins Singh. That's what I meant to say. It's been a late night. Speedball Mountain win. What'd you think?
It was a good match. I do enjoy Speedball Mountain. When they wrestle, I'm sorry, my brain just blue screened for a moment.
Hell yeah.
I always try to put on my friends to the gospel of wrestling. So one of my female friends who doesn't know jack squat about wrestling or TNA was like, that man with the silver hair has great hair. And I'm like, yes, but you see that bald guy? He's going to take the pin. And that silver hair guy, he's going to pin him. And she's like, how do you know that? I'm like, because this is wrestling and the silver hair guy is going to lose to the other guy with the nice hair, not the mullet, the burgundy pants. He's going to lose and the mullet guy's going to want to challenge him. You got to use your noodle. And listen, sometimes I don't want to be right, but it was an entertaining match. I was sports entertained. Ali, man, that Trent Seven and Ali is going to cook. Ali versus Speedball is going to slap harder than it has any right to. Nothing against Champagne Mr. Singh. Nothing against him. He did what he was supposed to do because he was beating the crap out of Speedball in the beginning. However, again, I cannot wait for the eventual Speedball versus Ali match, because that is some 205 Live X Division wet dream shit. Pardon my French, oui.
And it's going to be fun and it's going to be exciting. And there's one thing that needs to happen between now and that match, and that is the stipulation of the Secret Service being banned from ringside, because they continue to get involved and cost the opponent the match, and Ali sneaks out a victory. Happened again tonight. With the Secret Service getting involved, I should say. Ali gets a DDT on Speedball because one of them, creates a distraction, and then one of them gets down on their hands and knees and allows Ali to kind of turn it into a tornado DDT. They need, if it's going to be Speedball and Ali, Ali's going to say, I don't want your Secret Service at ringside. They have been a problem, blah, blah, blah. And then Ali's going to say, okay, but you got to beat one of them. And one of them is probably going to end up being some big jacked up dude that they bring in for 1 week. And hopefully a name, or it's going to be someone who's part of the cabinet, quote unquote. There's got to be some sort of storyline beat there where they get rid of the Secret Service going into a match at Slammiversary. I just don't know who it's going to be. I just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know how we get to that point, but the Secret Service has to, they got to go. They got to go. Because like you said, they keep meddling, and Ali will sneak out, blame them. He'll always use it as an out. I mean, he's already said there should be age limits on the X Division. Before he tried to say there were weight limits on. Ali is just, this is the best. Equally the worst, equally the best.
There's some good storytelling in this match, had it as well, because Speedball spent a lot of the time in the match along with Campaign Singh, and you know that it's going to end up being Ali and Speedball down the line, and that's exciting. That's great. They didn't give you as much of that as they did Trent Seven and Ali. They did a little preview spot there. So I'm looking forward to the match that's happening next week with Trent Seven and Ali. But down the pipeline, if they're going to do Speedball and Ali, that's, I think, going to get a lot of people excited. Anything to add? I'm guessing no.
No, I'm trying to get to my mute button. Okay, so like my mouse is really fast and I don't know how to change it to slow it down. So the ADHD.
Control D. That's your hotkey.
If I do it and I alt F4, I'm going to be so mad.
Don't do that. Use Control D.
All I did was mute me.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do.
Oh,
I'm trying to help you.
I'm going to hell now.
Yeah, maybe it'll come with a pair of earbuds. Knockouts World title is on the line. Jordynne Grace defeats Allysin Kay, retains her title. The personal concierge, brings out our good buddy Ash. By elegance, she's wearing the same dress that the mannequin wore last week. God bless. The muscle buster from Jade, from Jordynne Grace, not from Jade. Why am I thinking that? Jade's in my other notes. I'll explain in a minute. The muscle buster from Jordynne Grace, fantastic. The callback to Samoa Joe, the callback to Impact TV, good stuff there. Powerbomb, Juggernaut Driver, quick match, solid match. Ash looks on. Allysin Kay looks good. Marty Bell was there, got involved. What do you think of the match? And I have at least one more comment, but go ahead.
Jordynne Grace can do no wrong. I thought this match was fantastic. We're going to be positive, Cresta. We're going to be positive.
No, feed the hate.
I don't know what we're doing with Ash by Elegance.
You're giving her that title.
I'm not interested. I want to be. I don't know. I do like the continuity with the mannequin dress. I do like that. I was like, you guys, you stupid. You're so stupid for that. That's funny. However, I don't think this added anything to the match. Jordynne Grace putting that tall ass girl in that muscle buster is hilarious. Now that's sports entertainment. That is sports entertainment. And honestly, now that we're here, I want to make the point that I was making earlier. If I was not around for the purge of TNA's main roster by WWE. And now I fear that with Jordynne Grace doing business, which I think is great, I love that TNA is having this moment. In my mind, Drew McIntyre versus Joe Hendry, it's right there. It's right there. However, I am worried that TNA's main roster is going to get like it did before. And that is a real worry of mine because, like, I want everyone to make money. Absolutely. But, like, don't work yourself into a shoot, brother. Love HHXOXO. You know what I mean? Like, I think Jordynne Grace should win against Roxanne Perez. I think it'd be a nice thing. Show goodwill. However, I think, again, if there is any sort of civil unrest in the back, you need to make sure you lock in those lyrics, TNA, because I would hate for your main event scene to be gutted. But also, I would hate for Josh Alexander to be on NXT. That would boil my balls. That'll boil. I want to see Josh Alexander versus Seth Rollins. Respectfully, I don't want to see him versus Trick Williams. Respectfully, Trick Williams is phenomenal, but I think Josh Alexander and Jordynne Grace's main roster caliber. That is just my 2 cents.
I've been telling people since this all started, 2 things. One, the only person who's been involved in this crossover has been Jordynne Grace. No one else has from TNA. The other thing, and I know the reporting is there will be more, and that's great, but it's NXT. It's NXT talent. So WWE has decided that TNA's importance is on par with NXT, and that's fine. It doesn't mean that they think one is a developmental brand and one isn't. It's more just a presentation thing. I think it's a strategic partnership. I'm just not putting a lot of stock into it for now until I see someone other than Jordynne Grace, I'll use the term, cross the line.
And I think that's fair. Again, I think that everyone working together is great. I would love an Usos versus an ABC, a New Day versus the ABC.
And
I love that.
I'm telling y'all to stop doing that because you'll drive yourselves crazy when it doesn't happen.
I know, but I'm saying, like, I don't want people to see the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, and TNA now has to. I think of when AJ Styles was taken, Samoa Joe was taken, all of these people that were like the mainstays. And I think that it's great that TNA has its own stars. And again, I want everyone to make as much money as humanly possible, because for my entertainment, you guys are putting your body on the line. But I just don't want their main event seed to get gutted. You know what I mean?
These are categorically different times as well, because this isn't about this has never happened between TNA and WWE or NXT for that matter.
True.
On top of that, WWE hasn't really been in talent hoarding mode. And the third thing is it's been one wrestler crossing over. They clearly have eyes for Jordynne Grace, and they should. They clearly would love to have other stars from TNA join over, but also, you know, guys like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, those people that came around, Adam Cole was ROH, those wrestlers that came over were doing it at a time when they had already been journeymen across multiple companies over multiple years, and it was their time to get called over to WWE, because WWE is considered the apex of professional wrestling. That's not a knock at AEW. That's not a knock at TNA. It's just one's been around forever.
Reality of the situation.
Yeah, exactly. One's been around forever. The other one has been around for 22 years, 5 years, 87 years if you're the NWA, just to use another company. It's more about where that talent sees their goals and if they align with the opportunities presented. That's going to be up to the talent. WWE can easily offer them $1 squillion, and some people will say yes, but some people may not want to give up some of the.
Excuse me, what was that number again? What was that number?
$1 squillion.
A squillion? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the one who talked about choking, so I'm just going to make up numbers now.
Oh wow! I don't think you know what wrestling.
Wow, my point being of all of this is until somebody else comes over from NXT or TNA to the others camp, I'm not putting any stock in anything that's going on. People are saying that, it really felt like Tatum Paxley was going to challenge Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts Championship. I don't know if that's going to do much for people, but we'll see where that story goes after Battleground and on NXT this week. If they bring out a Tatum Paxley, people are probably going to complain, because people sometimes think that it's not on par, but it's about the story. And if the story is there, it's great. If Tatum Paxley comes out, I expect Rosemary to get involved as well, because they're playing spooky characters. Tatum Paxley works perfectly for a Dark Realm ridiculous segment. And I don't mean that in a bad way, ridiculous. It's just Tatum Paxley is ridiculous.
I don't know much about NXT, so I can't give an educated or an informed opinion. But I do know that if they bring out anyone from NXT, I personally have seen, I think her name is Lyra Valkyria wrestle. Her versus Jordynne Grace, I think, would be a spirited bout. I hate to sound like an old lady, but I think that'd be sports entertainment.
Big fan of Lyra Valkyria. Have been ever since she was just Valkyrie. She's been fantastic. Can't say enough good things. I can say this, though. Continuity issues continue because Jade wears a different outfit every night, and I'm glad she does, and I'm glad that she glams up and she looks fantastic, but it really messes with your continuity when she's doing the updo and the silver dress in one match, and then 4 matches later she's wearing the black dress with the
quick costume change.
It's a costume and hair change. God bless. Will Chisholm sent a super chat saying, to be fair, Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling stole AJ Styles from TNA. That's fair. That is fair. But the point I'm trying to make over here is that WWE is not going to be like, oh, I like this guy. They're not going to just pick them out of nowhere. And some of these people either not going to be picked or just not going to be part of the plans. They're just going to be doing a crossover, and that's it. And I don't necessarily think WWE is going to be coming for a purchase of TNA, for example.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm all about more eyes on TNA. So however we get it done, baby, we get it done. And Jordynne Grace, I think, and when Deonna Purrazzo was there, and again, I will bring up Josh Alexander. Hell, I'll even bring up Steve Macklin. These guys are great people to have crossover to any brand. These are great representations of what your brand is, what your brand can be, and like the cream of the crop. There are tons of other people, but I think these are the names that jump out to me at first. And even Joe Hendry right now, who's having a mainstream viral moment. These are people that I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to do anything with anybody, I'm using these people to put eyes on TNA.
And also, let's keep in mind, Macklin, Khan, Eric Young, not Frankie, but there have been plenty of regulars on TNA that have been in WWE and in NXT.
Facts. Sami Callihan, wasn't he somebody else with a weird haircut?
Solomon Crow, baby, the original hacker. Mustafa Ali and Solomon Crow need to have a match.
I don't think I will.
Well, instead, Sami Callihan's DMTV is the next segment up. He's feeling sick because he got the ink from Gresham. And he's like, oh, but I always feel like shit. So what does it matter? Thumbs up, thumbs down. And against all odds, Gresham versus Callihan. Callihan says he wants sushi, and now I'm hungry.
I said this again, and I'll say this before. I'll say it again. Sami Callihan was spawned from a septic tank. So Jonathan Gresham, nothing you can do is going to hurt this man. He coughs up black ink in the morning for fun and then swallows it back. This is Sami Callihan, bro. Like, when there are certain wrestlers, I'm thinking, yo, like, just the character. I'm not saying anything about this man personally. I don't know him from a can of paint. The wrestler, the character, yo, I know you stink. A little black ink ain't gonna do it. It's like, I know PCO stink because he's a zombie. Same smell. So what's a little black ink gonna do? Like, I'm not worried about it.
Digital Media Championship. AJ Francis captures the title from Laredo Kid. Cresta Star, 20 years of Impact. 20 years of luchadors losing on Impact.
Bro, I had to explain that to watching Impact TNA with my friend. I'm like, let me tell you, there are a few things that are constant in Impact. And one of them, are you a luchador? Are you wrestling on TNA? You about to lose. Did Laredo Kid even defend that title?
Yes. Wait. Once? I think. Our Paloridians in the chat saying happy belated birthday to me, and a shout out to the fave Cresta Star.
That's true. Your birthday was recently. Happy birthday, Joel. Hey, happy birthday to
Thank you. Yes, my
Guys,
birthday was Saturday.
give Joel happy birthdays. Send happy birthday in chat. Send Joel super humper chats and tell Joel that he's a super salad. Not a soup or a salad, but a super salad.
Well, it could be a soup or a salad. Hey, listen, if you send me a lot of money, then I can get a nicer hotel for Slammiversary weekend.
And I can go in his suitcase.
Nope. Laredo Kid takes out Rich Swann on the outside instead of Francis, who's down on the mat. Instead, Francis recuperates, chokeslams Laredo Kid for the win. They call it the down payment. I don't hate that for a name. AJ Francis is the right guy for the digital media title. We talked about this before. Laredo Kid, God bless. He's not the dude who's on social media 24/7, tweeting everything, getting the content out there, doing all the things. AJ Francis is. First class, they are. This is the right move for the digital media title, which I'm waiting for someone to pick up the mantle from Joe Hendry, because he was, along with Matt Cardona, the two best champions in that division so far. What is that division? Don't ask me. It's just a bunch of guys and girls going after that title. But AJ's the right guy. What do you think?
I agree. Something chronically online. He's great to have for a digital media champion, considering I feel like not Crazy Steve, but the couple of people we've had been babyface digital media champions. So I don't hate this. Again, AJ Francis, people hate him, but he's using it to his advantage. And I think a digital media championship puts him in a position of, you may hate me, you may not have liked what I had said, but you cannot say that the results don't matter. I'm champion. You may not like me, but I'm saying, look at the system. You may not like me, but we're all champion. You may not like what I said, but you cannot say I wasn't funny. So you can be mad, but you can't be mad at results. Now we got to get something for the rich homie Swan, and then it'll be great. But yeah, I feel bad for Laredo Kid, but it is what it is. And I felt like we all saw this coming, honestly, truly. And I think it does put some legitimacy on AJ Francis. What you do with this now is very important. So we'll see.
You know what you do with it now? You take $5 and you subscribe to FightfulSelect.com, the best $5 in the business. Contract news aplenty. We got it literally every day. We're dropping some contract news over on FightfulSelect.com. Sean Ross Sapp is out this week, so Corey Brennan is going to be doing the Q&A, but normally Sean does a Q&A. You get access to our Discord. If you want to ask Sean a question at any point in the time, go ahead. It's on our Fightful Select Discord. Best $5 in the business. Mark Henry did an interview this week with us. We have interview notes over there, along with our podcasts and content aplenty, Sour Graps, The Weekender, the list goes on, so forth, and the likes. FightfulSelect.com, the best $5 in the business. What are we waiting for? Get in there. Drop your $5. Tell them AJ Francis sent you. Right?
I'm in the Discord. I'm looking at the Discord right now, and I think it's a little crazy that I'm not a mod. It's just a little crazy, just a touch, just a touch. I'm not upset, but just a touch, just a touch.
Tell Mike Straw. Tell Sean. Tell Simon.
Rue.
Next week on the show, Tasha Steeles takes on Danny Luna, Santana takes on Wentz, Slamovich takes on Marty Bell, and the Nemeths team up for the first time ever to take on Ace of Bays. That's a very sad match when you think about it, but it's happening. Jordynne Grace, they do a Jordynne Grace promo ahead of her match at Battleground this weekend. That's NXT Battleground, not TNA Battleground. She's going to be going after the wow, see, it did me too. The NXT Women's Championship. It's going to be Jordynne Grace against Roxanne Perez. She puts over Roxanne Perez, compares their stories. They're very similar, but very different. And she applauded her friends for doing cool stuff for so long, and now it's her time. Now she's going to do it. It's good hype for Battleground. That's this weekend. We're going to be having a post show, not you and I, Cresta, but Alex and Kate will be doing one over here on youtube.com/Fightful. So check that out. Main event, Nick Nemeth defeats Frankie Kazarian. This was a good match. The highlight of the match, Cresta, do you know what it was?
Joe Hendry.
No.
Oh,
it's after the match. That was after the match. During the match, they're out on the side. They're walking around ringside, and somebody yells, "Hey, Kazarian, where's Scorpio?" And as Kazarian's rounding the corner to do the next thing, he yells, "She's at your mom's house."
Okay, I didn't hear what the fan yelled, but I definitely heard Frankie Kazarian say, "at your mom's house." And I wrote, wow, he's really healing it up with this uncle gimmick.
No, man. Scorpio Sky. Where's Scorpio Sky was the question. And the answer was, at your mom's house. And I was like, God, yes.
Honestly, get him, Kazarian, get him.
Oh, man. Last chance for super chats and humper chats, because they won't be at your mom's house tonight. It's all Kazarian, but Cresta will be. It's all Kazarian for the first half of the match. Nemeth wins. No surprise. A good match. Kazarian is very good at this. Nemeth is very good at this. The post match is what matters. The System beat down Nick Nemeth, and then Joe Hendry comes out of nowhere. I mean, he's had some stuff with the System, but he makes the save. He almost takes out Moose. Very close. They tease it, and then Lisha Edwards uses the kendo stick and takes him out, and then Moose spears Hendry. Brian hits the implant DDT. Edwards gets the Boston Knee Party. They stand strong. We'll get to the Matt Hardy stuff in a sec, but first, what was the post-match? What do you think of this Joe Hendry revival, if you will, and push?
I think we were talking about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't hate that they're pushing Hendry as a serious guy. Now, when the System became champions, I had said that these are a group of guys that are very easy to hate. If the System loses, no one is upset because it's the System, it's Moose, it's Myers, it's Eddie Edwards. So people might complain if a Nick Nemeth came in and took the championship off of somebody, like, oh, you just got here. No one's gonna complain that a Joe Hendry, even a Nick Nemeth, took it off of Moose, because Moose's character right now, we hate that guy. Heck him. I think this is smart. Joe Hendry has a lot of mainstream popularity right now. He's got a lot going for him, and he can go in the ring. He looks great. He's great on the microphone. I can best compare him to Charlotte Flair in the sense of, you got the look, you've got the poise, you know how to talk, you got the stuff in the ring, you can say whatever you want about him, but unlike Charlotte, he's funny as shit. Like, he's hilarious. He's got a great gimmick, and for better or for worse, he's got a decent enough singing voice where people who don't even know. I've seen so many memes about Joe Hendry from people who don't even watch TNA. And it's like, yo, Joe Hendry's been the guy. I've been telling you guys that he's fine. He can wrestle. He's a wrestling bard. And now everyone's getting on the Joe Hendry train. So he's definitely having a moment. And I think strategically, from a business standpoint, this guy who's having a moment should be your world champion. That is so smart. That is so smart. Maybe not at against all odds, but maybe Slammiversary, definitely. You know what I mean? That's how I would book it.
This has come almost out of nowhere. Obviously, Joe Hendry is a fan favorite, but we talked about this. There hasn't been something serious to put him in contention for a world title. They went from digital media jokester, which was great, to suddenly he is super serious going after the system. And I don't hate that. You and I talked about it. The match against Edward Edwards was like the beginning of that. Bound for Glory, there are rumors about them doing it internationally. We're obviously working on confirmation for that. If we don't get it in time, then they'll announce it as Slammiversary anyway, because that's usually what they do. That being said, if they go international for Bound for Glory, man, Hendry going for the title there and potentially winning it would be a huge deal and a really fun moment.
Bro, that would be so good. And again, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, I think if there's any complaint that I have about the Fed and AEW is that sometimes they don't strike while the iron is hot. I think right now, much like they did with ABC, when the iron was hot, you guys struck and they were a really good tag team champion. I think if you do that now with Joe Hendry, you've got Jordynne Grace getting a lot of attention. After you just had Naomi getting a lot of attention, now you're going to have Joe Hendry getting a... I love these eyes on Impact, and I think more eyes on Impact is more good. More eyes, more good.
What else is good? Sorry, I tried to do it with a straight face. Matt Hardy is unbreakable. He will still be facing Moose at Against All Odds. And apparently because of whatever Moose did last week, he's unlocked the Broken Universe. They pan out. Matt Hardy has invited Moose and the System to the Broken Universe next week at the Hardy Compound. Oh boy, Cresta Star, Matt Hardy and the System, and the whole house Hardy. And by the way, God bless, it's different now for Matt Hardy and with those kids. Because right now, you look at those kids, some of them are just like, are we done yet? There were just some moments where I'm looking at one of the kids just looks like he was just bored out of his gourd. I'm sorry. But it could be fun. It could be fun. Matt Hardy's going to have the match in Chicago. It's happening. But they're going to the Broken Universe next week. Your thoughts on that?
I know Moose is with the shenanigans, so this is right up Moose's alley. I don't know how this is going to work. However, Miss Lisha Edwards, girl, I don't know if you ever heard about Matt Hardy's wife, but
she was playing piano tonight.
I hope you can street fight, because Matt Hardy's wife is kind of like Eddie Kingston. I'm not going to tell her wrestling to work, so I don't know what you going to do in particular, so I hope you can street fight.
I posted today on Twitter ahead of the 20-year anniversary of TNA Impact. I said 7 or so years ago, TNA, they were Impact at the time, invited a whole bunch of wrestling adjacent creators and people in and out of the media, in wrestling media, to watch the original Final Deletion. And while they did it, because it had never been done like this before, this was something new. And a lot of people, they filmed their reaction. And they did a super cut to promote the match and like, oh my God, it's so crazy, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be amazing. And I said, oh, by the way, tonight, happy 20th anniversary. What I meant to say about all that is you may have noticed, or maybe you didn't, that there were a lot of online streamers, a lot of Twitch streamers who were invited to watch TNA, some for the first time tonight. And they were excited, rightfully so. And they've been invited to do it again next week. And what are they doing next week, Cresta Star?
Delete. Let me tell you guys, I'm so happy because I've seen a few people who were featured on the Federation and AEW TV for streamer reactions. Girls, Weezy Blonde in particular, and Mini Portable, get your coins, honey. More girls in wrestling media, more good too. I think this is smart. I'm just saying they could have invited Joel Pearl and Cresta Star.
We're not
That's
streaming
great.
the show. We don't do live reaction streaming. It ain't for us.
I would.
No. You could. I don't think I'm.
Joel
I think
said,
those days
not
are
I,
done
said
for
the
me.
cat.
Those days for me are done. I have moved beyond my work is not that anymore.
Well, I like it. I think it is great. And I think that it is very smart for companies. We are now in a day and age where using content creators, people who are trusted in the wrestling space, is so smart. Because people, and I have said this even when I started, you can say what you want about wrestling, but a lot of these content creators are getting people excited about wrestling again, no matter where you stand on the side of the fence about them. Some people literally aren't watching WWE. I've had countless messages saying, Cresta, I wasn't watching the Federation for a long time and you made it interesting. I've seen it in 4K with some content creators like Suplex. You know what I mean? This is so smart. You are bringing it to a generation of TikTok kids who might be like, you know, wrestling's fake. I'm like, yeah, wrestling may be quote unquote fake. But did you know that Matt and Jeff Hardy, the stuff that your dad used to watch back in the day, they're still wrestling and they're about to do a house match? I know it sounds crazy, but why don't you sit down and learn you something? Come here, sit next to Deckard Cain, stay and sit a while. And that's how you get people being funny. These content creators are the rappers back in the day. You did it with Dennis Rodman. You did it with all these people. So why not do it with these people now? That's so smart. TNA is really out here using their noodle. They're using their noodle.
And everything old is new again. Impact's 20th anniversary for June 6th, 2024. Cresta Star, what you got going on?
Not much. I live here on the internet. I'm chronically online and I love you all. Anyway, you can find me every Thursday, every Saturday here on Fightful. Every Thursday, I am here with Joel Pearl. We go over all things TNA. I will be here Friday with him going over Against All Odds. I am here every Saturday with Iridian and Rick going over all things Collision. Sometimes I'm on TikTok. I do TikTok selling things, and I don't know what channel I'm going to be on next week. So stay tuned for that. If that was a lot of information, please follow me on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, at Cresta the Star, like Megan Thee Stallion. There is a link tree in my bio. You can find all the links to my stuff and what I'm doing there. Support your girls, support professional wrestling. Love each other. You guys are fantastic, and happy Pride. Joe Pearl, where can they find you?
Oh, I'm easy to find. I'm at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl, and we'll be back next Thursday and Friday to cover Impact and Against All Odds. We're looking forward to those post shows. I'm in the weeds every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over on our sister channel, Fightful Overbooked. That's 10 a.m. Eastern till noon. Tomorrow, Jeremy Lambert's going to be in, but so is SP3, because why not? It's a fun Friday to talk about wrestling like we do every week here and every day. That's what we do. Wrestling. Go outside. Go, well, not right now because it's nighttime, but if you're going to go outside, be safe. Enjoy it. Enjoy your weekend. Till then, I'm at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl, ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. We will see you in the next one.